is under the urge to repeat the ancient catastrophic events, the ancient trauma. Are we not in a predicament? It is not a preaching to be better. It is a preaching to know yourself.
Of this collective amnesia in the future.
The effect is very great, not only in the future, it was also in the past. Because as long as a man doesn't remember his past, he acts as a neurotic, a person who suffered a traumatic experience. Due to this traumatic experience, suffered also an amnesia, a local amnesia, so to say, not spread through all his personality, but in this case, in the human race, we have something that is comparable with a single personality that suffered a trauma.
I don't have my phone and computer connected because I got hacked about 3 years ago, and it really just screwed everything up. So I make it as less convenient as possible. You know, everything of mine got compromised, including my bank account. I had a pretty tough time with that. And Andy helped me through it. And he's just a wonderful person, man. And if it wasn't for him, I don't know what I would have done. That was, a long time ago, though, but, he's a good guy. Love him. That was Amnesia. I wrote that song about 2016, something like that. And I was inspired by Emanuel Velikovsky through Wall Thornhill. I discovered Wall Thornhill, and then Thornhill led me to Velikovsky. And I was so inspired that I decided to create, because I was looking for a subject. And I wanted that I was going to be always into, not just some, fad. And I've always been a lover of astronomy and cosmology, even when I was a kid. I just wanted to know more and more about the stars and the planets and how everything operated. And I remember watching Cosmos. It used to be on PBS. And, man, whenever it would come around, I watched every episode. It was just mind-blowing. But, I was always skeptical. Because I'm like, how do they really think they know so much? I don't trust them. And I'd be damned if I wasn't right. Because it was sometime in 2014, I discovered a video of Wall Thornhill's. And I think I searched electricity in space and got Mr. Thornhill's lecture. It was called Understanding Gravity in the 21st Century. And it took him about 5 minutes to convince me that everything that mainstream is spewing is just drivel. It's useless noise. You don't learn anything. Black holes and dark energy, everything's so complicated. It's all BS. The universe is run by electricity. And I've always felt that how could this awesome power exist and not have any effect on the universe? Or, where does it come from? It's just an amazing thing, electricity. And I remember asking my dad, because we got into some pretty heavy conversations when I was just 10 years old. My dad was always into stuff like that. Like him and my brother would have conversations, and I was just a little kid, but I'd listen. And you'd say, what if a train was running through us right now, but we don't even know it, because it's in a different dimension? So I always kind of was a thinker like that. And I suspected that electricity played a big role, but, it wasn't something that motivated me like it did Wall Thornhill. I mean, the guy's motivation was off the hook. He set out to tell the world. And that's a pretty tough thing to do and get attention. But he did. And he hooked up with Dave Talbot, which the story of them two, how they came together is just utterly amazing to me. And it got me really into the whole aspect of the electric universe and Saturn theory. It sounded right. I remember being a kid, and there's the blue hour. That blue hour before the sun comes up, and it's just blue when it's blue outside. And I was always intrigued by that, even at age of 10 or 11 or 12. And I always think, it's a reminder of the purple dawn every day, twice, when it gets dark and when it gets daylight. That's what I've always thought. Because the Saturn theory is, to me, absolutely the right theory. Everything, it's got evidence on its side. Nothing about the Big Bang has evidence on its side. Their evidence is no good because it can't be light receding. It's about age. And health and art prove that. So we're not running away at the speed of light. We're not going to die not being able to see the stars, all cold and everything. The universe is electric. It's run by electricity. And, the genius of Tesla was that he took nature and put it into wires, but they don't really travel in the wires. That's another story. Another kettle of fish. But he duplicated basically what the universe is doing. And he had this idea to let the solar system run our electric grid. And, he would have pulled it off. And just think where we'd be today if that would happen. Cell phones came out in the 40s and things like that, where we'd be. The only part about our technology, advancement into technology, is the nuclear aspect, because, we're just fool enough to destroy each other. That's how crazy we are. We're just crazy, upside down antipods, whatever it was Eric Dollard said. But, and upside down. And he's right. Because we had a giant mental scar. We're a species with amnesia. And I know that Graham Hancock gets a lot of use out of that. But the truth is, the guy who said it originally was Emmanuel Velikovsky. He said it in the pre-space age. That's pretty amazing. He's just had a great mind. And even though he was stepping out of bounds, he had the credentials and the wisdom and the gonads, because he had to have some big gonads, to cross lines, sciences, from the head for humans, psychologist, to astronomer. And that was their first complaint about him. He's a layman, he doesn't know what he's talking about, he's crazy. But they were so threatened by him that they hired Carl Sagan to try to take him down. And he couldn't. He gave a bunch of stupid anti-theories, but they didn't work. The people are smart. They saw that Velikovsky was right. And there was a brief moment there where science could have changed, but it didn't. Mainstream got their way and were able to sweep it aside so they could create all this other crap, like the Higgs boson and, I don't know, fart waves from the fourth dimension. Whatever it is, it's stupid. Because we already have a proven science. It's called electroengineering. And electroengineering, if it's not right, it don't work. You have to have it right. So that's where they differ with the cosmologists that come up and become, astronomers like, Carl Sagan. And that's all wrong. It's wrong. The universe is run by electricity. It's just, there's no doubt about it. And they have to know. But they just, I don't know, they're insane. They just keep clinging to the Big Bang. It's been disproven. Walt Thornhill used to always say he didn't like the word debunked because it's not a scientific term. It's disproven. And, debunk is kind of pseudoscience. I remember him saying that. And that made sense to me too. And he blazed the trail, and David Talbot and Don Scott, those three guys were masters. They took on the rest of the scientific world, and to me, kicked their ass. It's just, really, there's no comparison. When you watch a mainstream video, you come away really not learning much at all. You watch an Electric Universe video, and you learn something, or a couple of somethings, every video. That's the difference. Because it's right. It's true. We are living in an electric universe. There's no doubt about it. The thing is to just get them to see it, because it's wrong think. You're not allowed to think that way. Because it's right, and they just don't want us to know. Like they said, if the world, what did they say? If the world was round and we didn't know it, the military would tell us it was flat so they could attack from the rear. And that's how they act, with the people. That has never made sense to me. Because it's completely and utterly just useless. It's not needed. We're smart. We figure things out. And they're just, they're just going to bide their time because they can do what they want. They have the funding wagon attached to them. You can't get funding for any experiments for the electric universe. I don't know how many times it's got to slap them in the face before somebody gets an idea and says, hey, what about electricity? It's awesome power in the universe. It's the only power in the universe. That's all there is. Nuclear is electric. So, anyways, I got into a fascinating, I'm sorry, I got off on a little tangent there. But it's true. But I got, me and my friend Neil Thompson and Shockwave, who have been with me since the start, got into a really interesting conversation. And I'm just going to, I've babbled long enough, so I'm just going to say that this is 100% is through donation. So if you can kindly make a donation. If you're not, you can't do it. That's good. I keep everything free. You don't see commercials every 5 minutes. And I just don't, it ruins the content. I just can't do it. So yeah, I rely on donations. So yeah, just wanted to let you know that. So that you give me all of your money. No, I just want a little tiny bit. But anyways, so yeah, this is a good talk. And then after, we're gonna play the three of Cochrane videos, might as well, and play a couple of jams and say goodnight. So I'll definitely come out and chat with you after every program. Okay? Because I like talking to you. I'm starting to talk better, I hope. It sounds better to me. I know it sounds like shit, but it won't always. Alright. I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you.
One, some are human and some have the beak. But they are, if you notice that it feels like you've seen something like that before. Like that guy. Okay.
There's the human one, and the other one is the bird one. There's another one here, and look at this one from Ecuador. Higher potential between the ground and the sky back then than there is now.
Well, yeah, but that's my theory. Well, no, I shouldn't say that's my theory. That's the prevailing electric universe view, I would say. If you know what I mean? Like, obviously, there's hits on the ground, but we don't know how recent they were. Although, witness testimony by the use of myths seems to be something that we could, to me, archaeology and dating petroglyphs is a perfect way to see the date. If you can find the date of something across the ocean with the same symbols, then they are from the same time. The more stylized they get, the
That reminds me, I've uploaded the first 3 chapters to this book on Patreon. It's available, and we'll be doing part 2 tomorrow.
further from the original they are.
The newer they are, yeah.
No, further from the original, not necessarily newer. I mean, you're right. I guess in certain case,
in time, it would be, like,
yeah, I know what you mean,
the difference
but
between the original carvings of Squatter Man and the images that we see in Sumeria of the gods.
No, actually, I have no problem. You could be right about that or wrong, because obviously they're being told as stories at that point. And interpreting,
and they're stylizing
right.
the image of Squatter Man or the polar configuration of planets and making it look like a person with animals on each side.
That being said, there is also clearly they combine symbols together, like the wristwatch on the same hand as the handbag, for example, from those exact Babylonian things that you were referring to. Well, like we've talked before or spoken of before, the handbag itself represents the arm is reaching back from Jupiter, connecting to a planet behind it. That planet, of course, is, in my opinion, Saturn. That's what the bag is. And his watch belies that trait, because if you notice, it's the original sun form, the sunflower, if you know what I'm talking about there, from the
but that's
the
above
conjunction.
But that's above the handbag, and Andy seems to think that the handbag form was the shape of the clouds that the people were witnessing from the ground. So it would make sense that the handbag would be lower, and then the polar configuration of planets on the wrist.
No, this is not even close to that. Yeah, sometimes with a beak.
With wings.
With wings. Yeah, okay, so what's Ev Cochrane say? But I'll tell you what I think it is. No problem.
Yeah, I almost didn't have my mic on, but I just...
Oh, no, I don't want to hold you up. I just want to... my thoughts My thoughts on that are the wings,
Zone
of
in
course.
Earth was not.
The wings themselves.
Well, that was the magnetosphere of Saturn lit up
No,
in glow
I
mode.
don't. No, it isn't.
Also, they're also the owl's eyes.
No. No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be saying no like that. I meant from my point of view. I should say I have no problem with their interpretation, but I can tell you why I think what I think, and I think that I'm right. Now, and I back up what I say. Basically, once you get a picture up there, you can just see the man, and you'll understand, like, this is what you're looking at there on the screen is definitely a, yeah, you're not wrong on, like, that's a conjunction thing, the two things on either side with the flower in the middle, which is, the Irish cross would be another example of it. But what I'm talking about takes place, this is something that was much more modern, much more after the Clash of the Titans.
After the Clash of the Titans.
Saturn was on its way out. The gods were dying.
Polar configuration.
It's gone, yeah.
Okay.
But we still worship these things because as they move through the solar system, their magnetic fields are glowing.
In the Judaism, they wear that square on their forehead. Now,
Correct.
To me, that signifies Saturn worship.
It is.
Yeah.
100%.
That's what I thought.
It's the same as the black cube, yes, which, of course, is the hexagon at the bottom of Saturn, or top, if you take a look.
The hexagon in 2D, if you make it turn it
3D,
3D
yes.
object, it turns into a square, a cube.
Correct. I mean, we generally know that.
Are you guys hearing anything in the background for me? Let me know, because I want to make sure.
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I'm just lining up two things that I want to find before we can.
Because I have my air cleaner running and my son.
Oh, I can't hear anything.
Okay,
it's fine.
Good.
As far as I know.
Good.
Yeah, I don't hear it either.
Last talk that hampered the video, and it was my fault.
That's okay. We're good.
But
let me see if I can bring up that. Okay.
If whenever you want to take over screens, just go ahead and do that.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Ask to share screen when you got something.
Yes, but we were looking. You were looking for that dude, weren't you? The guy with the wings.
Yeah. It's in this video that I'm playing right now.
Oh, okay.
I don't
Perfect.
know exactly where.
Okay.
Let me see.
Well, you'll find him because this is Ev Cochrane's work, was it?
Yes.
Okay.
Suns and planets. I made 3 videos from his website. This one's called Suns and Planets in Neolithic Rock Art, and I think.
Right. This is what I would like to talk about. Is now remember my general understanding here is that the society that we call Egypt, we say that they're connected to a more ancient society called Kemet.
Yes, the land of Kem.
Right. Well, I think the land of Kem is the Sahara now.
Okay.
And the sand that is covering the Sahara, it's all the way around the planet. Okay. It is where the sand from the rings fell. The rings, of course, are the rings were the debris caught up from Mars being machined on the top, and the dust is spread around through
basically the column of clouds by day and column of fire by night that was to Mars.
But I only meant that the actual dust, we don't consider this anything when you think about it, because we were like, they didn't see it.
Yeah, Greg,
but eventually.
What's that?
Check my screen. I have the image up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's nice. These are nice images, though.
Yeah.
He's not wrong on some of these. I like them.
Yeah, he goes through each one and explains them.
I should turn up the volume slightly.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, I'm going to unshare mine. Stop streaming. Okay. All right, I unshared. Now look at your screen. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Yeah, I see it. I got it. I just said,
Pine cone in one hand, the bag, and the wristwatch on the other hand.
let me switch to that on OBS. There it is. Okay. Got it. Yeah, okay.
So you see, you have, well, there's multiple pictures of that. Some are human and some have the beak. But they are, if you notice that it feels like you've seen something like that before, like that guy. Okay.
There's the human one, and the other one is the bird one. There's another one here, and look at this one from Ecuador.
Isn't that crazy? Wow. So close. One looks like a bird and the other one looks like a lizard.
Yeah, but
this is a Ahura Mazda. Where is that? This is Ahura Mazda from the Zoroastrian religion.
Okay.
But
Things, God, planet, Saturn.
anyway, I'll let you ask questions, but that's not him. That's Saturn, yes, but that's not him later. What you're talking about? Just a second. Oh my God! God damn it! Just 1 second.
No problem.
And it lasted for 3,000 years, they tell us, the polar configuration. The gods were here for 3,000 years is what they say.
Oh, I thought it was 300, so I was wrong.
No, 3,000. There's another, I can't remember, somebody suggested it was 4,000 years. So it's somewhere in that range time. That
I apologize.
And I think it ended around 2300 BC.
Okay.
What are we referring to? I'm sorry. I apologize.
Polar configuration.
The breakup of the polar configurations where the gods were with us and then they departed.
Oh, well, I'm not even worried about that in regards to like I said, a
lot of people
have arguments. Know, right? Well, no, I understand that. What I'm saying is that I am not really as concerned about the dating as I am the order of the dating.
Yeah.
As long as the order is in the right place, we know where we're going. But these are two different things. Like what you're looking at there, okay.
That's the tree of life.
Right.
The gods, heavily stylized. It didn't look like this in the sky. It's just they're adding the gods on each side of the tree of life.
But
same with this. I'll go back. Go ahead.
Well, just pick one and stick with it so I can at least describe these and make it big if you could. Like, pick any one you want.
No, Neil, you were talking about Mars burying Egypt, the Sahara area in sand.
Well, we talk about the rings of the planet, and we know that they eventually would, if we orbited the moon, like we started orbiting each other, those would be knocked down. They would fall to Earth.
Right.
But they're the debris from that was spread all over the inner solar system. We gobbled that up, of course, during the Clash of the Titans. The lava was gobbled up.
Well, that would make sense.
That's why the sky was purple for such a long time. It's not. It was. The sun was red.
Right. The sun was red.
Yes. We know it was red.
I thought that the parent, our original parent star, Saturn, was red, but the sun was bright, like a man.
The sun was Saturn was green.
Yeah, Saturn was green. Yeah.
At least
now it's brownish green.
Remember that saying in the South American book, like a man, the sun showed himself. It's like a mirror.
Right, but
blinding
that's
me,
about that was the flaring of Venus to rival. This is Lucifer's flaring to try to rival the sun for the dominance of the sky, and he was struck down, and he no longer had a tail. That was the end of him or her.
I see.
But that debris didn't clear up for a while.
Okay.
And I think that was when it finally cleared up, the skies started turning more blue and the sun was more white. But we know it's red because if you see a picture of the sun, it's a red disc with a yellow snake around it, the Uranus serpent around it. That is and you can see prominences coming off it on the bottom. That's the tail and head of the snakes. That image is a red sun. Our sun doesn't look like that, but it did from Earth. And since the debris was in space, it wasn't in the atmosphere. It didn't filter down to the atmosphere. You see what I mean? It wasn't that. It wasn't short-lived. It was there for a long time until these guys here. That's not one planet, by the way. That is Jupiter holding on to several planets.
Now, which image are you speaking of? The bigger one?
The pick. Could you make one big, please? Anywhere? Not that one. Not that one.
But if I click
one of them,
if I click on one of these images, which one?
Anyone will do.
Yeah, anyone.
Just not that one, because I want to see one of them. Just one, and make it big, please.
This is as big as I can make it because I'm here in Google.
Yeah, click that little image on this little square on the side.
And it takes me to a website.
No, you hit the wrong button.
Yeah.
The little square on the side.
Show image.
The little square on the side. The little square on the lower left corner.
Lower left corner.
Of that picture, right there. Click it.
There.
Now make it big. Make it as big as the page can make it.
Control.
There you go.
There you go.
That's it.
that's
Not much
what I
bigger
wanted.
than what was there.
Well, it's gone again. Shit.
It's because I'm right clicking and
I don't understand. But whatever. Anything you do.
Hey, at least I'm not the only
Just
one.
keep it on the screen.
Messes up.
Whatever anyone will do.
Yeah, they're
all the same.
No, that's Inky, right? The water bearer.
Yeah.
And who gave the Earth a bunch
That's
of
not
water?
him.
It was Saturn.
Right.
That's not the one. That's not the same guy. It's not the same image.
You
got to take me to the guy. That guy will do. Okay. Or okay, not.
That's in love, right?
I guess. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
So you're looking at. I don't know why he's holding instead of an acorn. Like he's not holding the bag anymore. So something's different here.
Well, this is a different image than the new. I'll go and find the bag one.
Well, we were looking for the bag. Okay.
Now
Jesus Christ.
This is
it's like crazy.
This is actually
There's one.
A conglomeration of plants, is what you're saying.
Of course, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
there you go.
And about archaeology, then, I know it's hard to see in this image, but there's wings on the top and bottom, so that's the magnetic field of Jupiter. Okay. Now, this Saturn was no longer the king of the sky. This is why Thor, Jupiter, Jehovah took over from Yahweh. Yahweh is a handbag. You can tell by his wrist. His wrist has the symbol for the original the original Saturn,
polar configuration.
Thank you, configuration.
Both wrists have these wristwatches. The one that has holding the handbag is facing inwards so that people can see it. So it's definitely symbology.
No. Yes, it's a symbol, but it's trying to tell you that is a plasma formation reaching from Jupiter, to Saturn in the background. Okay, these arms are always away from us, remember? So you can understand that this is an image of something that we're seeing that's 3D with a bunch of planets, but they're always facing, like now that they're traveling away from us, out towards where the gods die, out past the rings, the river of Styx.
All lit up in glow mode, yeah.
Yeah, and they're going, it's still traveling further and further backwards, so it's discharging as it goes, right? So the magnetic field is glowing. We can see it with
they're exchanging thunderbolts all the way, yeah.
Anyway, there is
I just moved.
Magnetic field, as you can see, that's the wings.
Background noise down.
Sometimes he looks like he's on a throne.
Yeah, you're good. Good.
But
over
that's only because there's more discharge in the south than the top.
Just let me know.
He has that pillar coming at the top of his North Pole.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
that, and his body is somewhere in the middle to where his chest is. Okay, that's where the Saturn really is, or sorry, Jupiter really is, and it's just like a ball. So each of these things are little tiny balls compared to the size of this thing. But anyway, that handbag is reaching back towards Saturn. So that's Saturn. That thing is Uranus, and the one on the top is Neptune.
Interesting.
These conglomerations are reaching backwards because they're still together, remember?
Yeah.
Neptune was, and the polar configuration was those stars with Saturn, the biggest one you could see. But behind those are two more. And we know they came with it because those were the ones that came with the Venus figurines. The Venus figurines represent them coming in. This is them going out. But they didn't come all the way from another fucking solar system this time. They just came from us, where we were, and then
they may have broken off from a larger proto Saturn.
No.
Well, it maybe is possible.
No. I'm saying that the Venus figurines show you very clearly that you can see them come in and go out as they came in. So they come in for and you see how it looks 75 years, 1,000 years later when they make them again. The thing has a larger head that's bowed over, stuff like that.
Well, I'm just going back towards Kronos and his children.
Right, but that's after this.
Oh, so it's not an ancient.
This is prehistoric. This is talking about 75,000 years ago. Yeah. And if you go back even further, we're talking 150,000 years ago. So we know that this object was called the Aleutian hand axe. So we see it as all of them as one big coma. Then we see them as a collection of lesser charged comas with their magnetic fields looking like legs and breasts reaching down to something with no feet and some sort of like hair like on a head, which knows you have that here at a chin. Well, this is the same object. That acorn is the same object of a discharge. But the reason I think the reason that one's Uranus and the top one is Neptune is because Uranus is on its side.
Right.
And it has a tail coming out of it. That used to be the head of the beak of the thing that was coming out from the long head Venus figurines. You see?
Well, that's the same pose that, the gods in India have, like a Vajra. They release Vajra. That's the same sort of pose that they have.
Correct.
Using their weapons.
I know, but when we're talking about the weapons, I'm not simply understand that I think we understand what lightning was cast everywhere. I'm not trying to go into that. I'm simply referring to this is the plasma that's reaching out. These could be going past 4 AU and out into the thing eventually. Jupiter stops at 5, and the next one is Saturn at 8, and the other two are further out than that, and they all become balanced. And they lose their glow. They probably kept on glowing occasionally during certain times of the year or something. And we would notice that they would glow when we get more of them lined up. So we were afraid of conjunctions as we are today. And so then obviously Venus terrified us because it was inside of us.
Sure.
And
we're not so scared of conjunctions. We're fascinated by them.
We're afraid of them.
I'm not.
No, not us. But there's a reason why we like when they happen. But in the past,
well, that's what I'm saying. Nowadays, we're fascinated by them, not so much scared by them.
Well, the Mayan calendar is a Venus calendar. It lines up our year, which of course has the wrong number of days, but they don't mention that. And then it lines up another body and Venus. So I think it's the moon and Venus. So this is much more recent, which makes sense.
Right.
And
that was probably when we were orbiting a little closer to the sun at 360 days per year.
Yeah, that's right.
But the thing is that these roles are doing all of them. All of these things are happening. And the reason I think that they're happening is because when these things lined up last time, it became the Hydra, it became Medusa, it became, turning people to salt and stuff, Ishtar burning the land type shit. So that is basically why the Mayans and stuff keep a calendar for that, because they are scared and they prepare. Like every time this came by, they just go to the cave and wait. If it didn't happen, great.
Yeah. Well, they were looming large in the sky, so they had to be pretty damn scary.
Well, but we know how scary it was because there is actually archaeological evidence. There's a ritual that's still performed where they crawl along on their bellies all the way to the caves in like Patagonia or something for 5 miles.
I stopped sharing, Greg. You might want to throw up some visuals.
Okay, I can do that. I'll just go back to.
Just go play some stuff, some older videos or whatever.
Yeah, I got the.
Give the people some awesome images.
Yes, indeed.
All right, I got. Let's see here. Just gotta put it on OBS. Make sure it's on there first. There we go. All right, and for some reason, there we go. I got a sun.
Mm-hmm.
It should be showing on OBS. There it is. Okay, I got it. Now, are you seeing it on?
I do see it, yes.
Okay, good. Because I'm still seeing a couch. The stream has ended. Close stream. Okay. Wait a minute. Right here. So I'm not, I'm not up on Discord like you guys are. You guys are still.
Oh,
right. You just have to share screen again. That's all.
Yeah.
I think he is, isn't he? It's just black. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, it's black on OBS. It's showing, but for some reason here it's black.
It's back now.
It's back.
Oh, it's still black. It's black, but it's back.
Yeah, it's black and it's
You're
back.
probably sharing the wrong screen, I'm guessing, or something. I'm not sure.
Okay, right.
Oh,
there you go.
Now it's gone again.
It's black again. What's going on? What's going on with you, buddy?
I'm not knowing.
I'm not knowing.
There we go. Oh, it was the end of that video. Okay. All right, so I'll just go back to the beginning. Because we were looking at other things, and then...
Oh, he was talking about the Mayan calendar, and poof.
There it is.
There it is.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got 3 videos from F. Cochrane, so when this one finishes, I'll just let the other one run.
Oh, yeah. I don't mind looking at them, but this is, what I'm trying to... We could use these for dating things, but this is the most interesting thing. We know that these symbols are old, but only certain ones are older than others. And if you can see that in Göbekli Tepe, some of these symbols, the oldest ones are still there.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talked before, we know that Göbekli Tepe was destroyed by something, just like the Mayan temples are and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that makes things a lot more easy to understand is that some of them might be a lot older than we think, like, clearly. And they all seem to have the same type of technology. What I mean by that is that, as you probably know, we have a lot of rocks. Oldest rocks have metal clamps that go between them. they are not useful for actually saving something from an earthquake. The rocks themselves can move. In fact, some of these actual things that you see sit in a thing that can move. Like, it's the metal clamps that are there are just a bar. There's no clamp involved. It's just sitting in there underneath the thing. Well, that's not a clamp. There's nothing connecting it. It's just sitting there. So why did you have it there?
Right.
Well, you had it there so that the entire wall is one unit, electrically speaking, and it's grounded. Which means if you're just like a cliff, these walls could get hit, not you. And the corners of them, in some cases, would glow. The tops of the Stonehenge would glow. The tops of the menorah on whatever would glow. The tops of pyramids or those stelae that you see would be glowing. But pyramids themselves get covered over.
Okay.
Like, when I think of
obelisks.
Yeah, I didn't mean obelisks. Thank you.
Ionized, they would glow?
Well, yeah, the points on top.
Yeah.
So
Just like a Christmas tree.
St. Elmo's fire is what he's
correct.
doing.
Right. But if you go all the way back and you start looking at, we're only seeing the leftovers of one side of this culture. Okay. I think it's possible, don't get me wrong, but you know how the material that the pyramid, we consider the pyramid, right?
Yeah.
Well, as you may or may not know, pyramids have cores.
Okay.
And the pyramid casing is of significantly less quality than the actual thing that they're covering up, which is like covered. What if these were originally like, say, not mastabas, but what's the word? Ziggurats.
Yeah.
And then they covered them over with rock and say that they made it. Because it changed shape in the sky and became a pyramid, so they changed the shape of their monument.
Well, if you look at the pyramids, most of them have an inner core.
Yes.
Which is stepped.
Still there.
It's still there and it's stepped.
Yes.
And it has an outer casing, which is smooth.
Less quality, yes.
And it's smooth.
Well, on the outside, but not on the inside of it.
Yeah, make a flat surface on the outside.
You mean the Great Pyramid, like the Giza power plant? Have you guys got into that book at all?
Oh, of course. Well, I've interviewed him.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, Chris Time. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. 'Cause I just bought that book on audio and shared it with my Patreons today.
Yeah, it's in the Electric View catalog there.
Okay, well, I have to check that out because it's a really good book so far.
Well, I'm not, it needs to say I'm not necessarily, I can agree that he has some aspects to it, but that's not the key for me. What's key is that the fact that they changed the monument. If that's the case, they just covered all of these mastabas or whatever from the ancient thing and made them like with sandstone. But the oldest stuff, like the Sphinx and the temple in front of it and the Temple of Abydos and stuff, they're much deeper and much older. And the reason they're deeper is because all that sand kept falling. And the Nile kept flooding and creating this fertile valley. But everything else is gone. Like everything that their society could have been all out there. It's supposed to be green valleys and stuff out there. Yeah, only the Nile's left.
It's buried under all that sand.
Oh, yeah, a mile deep.
Yeah, well, that would answer where the sand came from, wouldn't it? Because it's not the same as sea bottom sand.
No, it's from Mars.
That's what I thought too. They can't use it when they make cement. They have to use.
Where did 6.5 kilometers of the northern hemisphere of Mars go? A good portion of it went to Venus, and a good portion of it went to Earth.
Yes.
Well, I do have no idea what went where, but I do know that even if it was taken in, just thrown as dust, most of it around the area, and we can talk about times when things were different. Like as you're looking at some of those pictures, like the Golden Age and the flower and everything. That's a long time ago.
Yeah. But
we still transferred some of that symbol. That symbol is why I think the reason it's on the wrist is because it's indicating that that bag is important. If that bag is the original god.
Well, the oldest sun symbol is a circle with a dot. That's it. Yep. That one right there. That one right there.
Yep.
That's the oldest sun symbol that we know of. Everything else is...
That's ancient Egyptian. But here's the thing that I like. Most people, when you translate that, it means, that symbol means in ancient Egyptian, you would have words written beside it, like pictograms, right? Or whatever, hieroglyphs. Mm-hmm. And self, okay, this is where it gets interesting. The words are technically one, it means one orbit sun.
I see.
It means we orbit the sun. It very clearly implies that the ancient Egyptians are saying from the words alone, that the Earth orbits sun. That's what a year means. That's a symbol for a year.
I get it, yeah.
So now this is an old symbol, but if you understand it, then this means, no word of a lie, but if you listen to clearly what I said, the Earth orbits sun.
Right.
The Greeks didn't know that.
No. They thought everything orbited.
But right. But the words from that text on the wall literally say Earth orbit sun.
Yeah.
Not sun orbit Earth.
Right.
So that implies very clearly that they knew.
The Eye of Ra kind of looks like something going around, something in the middle. You know, it looks like an orbit.
Actually, the Eye of Ra is a conjunction that you're talking about. That's also
Polar
a
configuration, yeah.
Interesting.
The eye, Venus is actually the eye coming off it with the twist, a little eyelash coming to the side.
It was during the capture of Venus into the polar configuration that symbol was seen.
Yeah, that's the first symbol, the beginning of the words, where we get fractions from.
The Eye of God.
Yeah. Well,
I have
it has a
question to ask.
Sorry.
One of my
Please.
Patreons, Carter Lee, I told everyone on Patreon that you were coming on, and he sent me a text. He said, I can't wait to hear Neil go on one of his unbridled tours through the cosmos, unveiling the beauty of how it all ties together. Then there's Becker, the body electric. By changing the milliamp condition on the skin, he was able to duplicate the regeneration of a salamander only in a frog. I don't know much about that.
Well, that's something that
Limb generation. And that's funny, we're the only ones who can't grow back, like, insects.
Oh, there's a lot of animals that can't grow back things. The idea, though, that a salamander is also an amphibian and so is a frog. So the possibility of kicking that dormant gene active with electricity,
yes.
I mean, I don't know.
In the
but also,
dawn, could Earth have been so energetic, everything had such powers of regeneration?
I don't think so.
I don't think that's the case. However, just to be honest with you, we have no idea. All the evidence that we have, which isn't much, okay, tells us that death, the reason that Kronos is the god of time and death, and it's never said death and time, it's like time and death. I think the reason for it is because the rotation around, which was clockwise, is why we made clocks. Okay, the 360 degrees,
yeah,
that's because it's an easy number to divide by. Base 60 was the original Babylonian, because you can divide 60 by a million different numbers. So you can do it in your head, is what I mean. So, and we still use that today, obviously, in clocks and seconds. That's base 60. So this, when you go down further, it's a clock. So that's time. Before that, we didn't understand time. We didn't have days and nights, remember, because we were inside the glow of Saturn. It retracted so we could see the god being born, creation.
Yes.
Like the egg in the sky. And then, of course, the beanstalk reaching for the egg in the sky, the golden goose or whatever. Now, it's a similar story, but it's...
Well, I think creation is when our purple dawn left, and the God said, "Let there be light," of this new sun, and that's the creation myth.
No, I don't believe. I know that's not the case. I would declare that to be incorrect is because you're the "let there be light" in the creation sense. I'm not even referring to that because that's something written a long time later. The story about the tree, the snake, and the man, the woman, and Captain God with the big beard, that's the Saturn tale. Like, that's the same thing. So we're there, and the archetype's there. But we don't have Odin was hung by the tree leg, and of course that's Zamiaza in biblical things. So these are getting crossed to different tribes of Israel have different tales about the same thing. So they're like, that's the same thing as like Gilgamesh and Noah. But
well, yeah, but I'm suggesting that it was the beginning of the capture of Saturn and Earth and Mars into the polar configuration as we pulled into the solar system. The dropping of the purple dawn allowed light to come into the Earth from the sun.
No, you're right there. I would give you that, but I would think that we lived inside of this thing even while it was here, while the sun was just a red spot.
I submit that as you see Comet 3I Atlas and its huge glow, its the sun-sized glow, that we lived inside that. We lived inside that discharge as Saturn comes.
Well, it doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. From that point of view, it doesn't matter. Like whether or not we were here and orbiting the sun, or whether or not we came with Saturn. But I have my leanings. But it's irrelevant for this point. The point is that creation is not our creation. Creation is the creation of this egg in the sky. I think that it was brought to us on a bird, which is why it's called the goose that brought the golden egg. That's what I think. And I think that we saw it approach once and leave. That was Venus figurine, the Venus figurine with the long neck, and then it came in contact with us and grabbed us. And then we were orbiting, whatever. But we were still glowing inside of this thing. It was machining all the stuff without us seeing it, really. It's just like this haze in the north, to the north, right?
But like then it retracted. Right there, like that image there.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, but that's a retract when it retracted. But see, that's not, like I said, we're just talking about plasma, obviously. However, what I think that when we're looking at, God, you made me lose my thought.
Hey, sorry. It happens to me all the time.
Well, we were talking about it, and it was important.
Yeah.
It's a relevant conundrum.
Yeah. The disconnection is what you were going with, and about the glow of the.
Well, I think that that's the creation of the god, time, as we start seeing it rotate around, and of course we see the eye and everything like that as you're depicting there.
When we see the crescent rotating around Saturn, yeah.
Well, but still, that's again, this is why it is that time. But death comes after. When the god dies, like King Arthur gets sick or whatever, the dying god motif of the boat burning into the heavens or whatever, that there is the beginning of that thing that will eventually become the winged thing that we were talking about earlier with the conjunction, because they're still fighting. Remember, Cronus is fighting Jupiter. Mm-hmm. So we have this Yahweh versus Jehovah thing going on, but the death is what comes next. And what I mean by that is that, to answer his question, I don't know if we could die under the golden age at all. Right. It's quite possible that the reason that they go, it would take a person doing this to create this type of food, right?
Right.
Well, what would happen if you had 1,000 years to do it?
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
But it's not that you couldn't get killed. Death was a thing, but it was called being murdered, or you were eaten. You didn't just stop working and die. There was a reason for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So death, just us stopped working. It was depicted in biblical texts and everything else, where, eventually it was like Noah was this old and his son Seth was half as old. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so on. So I don't know of the accuracy of that claim, of course, but they talk about the longevity of people in the past and their wisdom, and it makes a lot of sense that it could be possible. Now, again, we don't know. I'm being very clear when I say this, that there's no proof that we can actually, we have never done experiments in this fact, except for, as you talked, the medical ideas. But the reason that this is quite possible to me is that we don't know. We don't do measurements on things when they are charged to the high heavens, because we'll die. Like, most of us can't measure something unless we're grounded to it, or and we'd have to raise ourselves and go into this. It's even worse than being surrounded by heat or pressure, because
you have to find a way to isolate yourself from the circuit.
See, and then how do you do that without killing yourself?
Exactly.
So, we know that the ancients, we're clearly playing around with this, because magic wands were made of dry wood, Hollywood, because it would be an insulator, just like we use pencils and stuff like that. We don't touch things. We use sticks and stuff when we're pipping around, and we're told to keep one hand in our pocket.
Must be a number 2.
Well, it's the only time when it's like one of the good things about being an electrical engineer. It's like before you approach a machine, you stick one of your hands, like your offhand, and you stick it in your pocket. And you don't make it leave, because if you touch anything with your other hand and it crosses your chest, you're going to die. So, and if it's wood, dry wood, it doesn't conduct.
I'll be back.
But wet wood would. Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's why I think that's why they went up to the tops of mountains to be seers or whatever, to experiment, because the higher they are, the better. You're further into this electric field of the atmosphere.
You know, Heaviside maintained that electricity doesn't really travel through the wire. It travels on the outside.
That is correct. It doesn't. The but I have to clarify 2 things. A movement of electrons will create an electric field. Okay. But the movement of electrons themselves are not the electric field. So there is current traveling, like actual movement of electrons, but they don't have to move any more than maybe, I don't know, like over the course of turning a light bulb on for an hour, the actual electrons might have only moved a centimeter. But the electric field is moving at light speed. Do you see?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it's hard to wrap your head around, but yeah, I get it. I get the premise. Yeah.
It's sort of like the whole thing becomes. Well, I think it has to do with the way that they interact and spin as they go down the wire. But either way, they are creating that field.
Right.
Clearly.
Spin, yeah. Right.
But it's on the outside of the wire, which tells us something, which is basically, that's exactly what electricity actually does. It doesn't hit the water, it doesn't hit the land, it hits the beach. Because that's where it's damp. And dampness is basically positive and negative charge carriers.
Yeah.
Same as the asteroid belt, for example, that we talked about before.
Yeah.
Each asteroid is positive with a negative surface, and then it makes a positive point between them, and so on and so on. And even though it's weak, it keeps them basically in a ring, because it's a ring current. And that's why we see, like, series have a light on it, and they think, oh, there's aliens over there. No, it's just a light in a crater, right in the middle of the crater. It's melting down apart. Because craters and comets and asteroids are just, the orbit's different. Which is why we have questions about whether or not, like, as you know, if you challenge this point, you can challenge then what is actually causing gravity. Instead of, like, if you deny special relativity and the bending of light around objects being part of gravity, but instead being optical effects, then, as per Dr. Ed Dowdeye from NASA, so I'm not like making that up, then you end up with a point of view that we don't know again, technically, although obviously, Wallace Thornhill has an idea that seems to fit the facts. It's hard to test, but it's better than having absolutely no test.
Right.
Which is what we have now. Like, we don't, like, the idea that we put these two things in a sealed jar, and then we noticed that they started they were like pulled towards each other slightly. Well, that sounds great until you realize that the effects that you're measuring are so small that we don't actually know if it could be like a charge building up on the surface of one of them. See what I mean? And attracting it to the other one that has more shade or something. You see what I mean? Like, we know very little about the electrical properties of materials, except for how they work in circuits.
Right.
We do not know, like, if I charge this piece of titanium up to 500,000 volts, does it become stronger than the Thor's hammer or something?
Yeah.
So we don't know. But nothing tells me that we have to, like, on biological systems, we definitely don't know.
Right. And then
We have no idea.
you seem to have supercharged electricity, which, have you ever heard of the demon core?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, that is very interesting. The guy dropped the screwdriver and ended up dying. His hand got really big. And that was supercharged electricity. It has to be, right?
No.
No.
It's a sunburn all the way down to your bones.
Wow. Yeah, well, I had
The
4
gamma
weeks of
radiation.
and it messed me up.
Yeah, as you know, but the radiation kills cancer cells faster than it kills your regular cells. That's the whole point.
But you suffer those.
You still suffer.
I'm still suffering. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm with you on that. I'm not arguing that, but you can see though that if you start basically the waves that are coming out of that, and we're not even talking about particles, but if I was in like a power plant, certain rooms in a power plant, for example, will heat you up because of the amount of electrical magnetic radiation in them. If you could see it all, even though it's just radio waves and stuff through the wires, your body, you would see it like a gigantic light bulb type of thing, you know, like it's so bright. But what it does is it starts heating up your body. And obviously the first things that will cook will be your eyes and your testicles. So you don't want to live in there for any more than, let's say, we'll have a very safe limit. There's no ionizing radiation. It's just, you're just constantly getting hotter.
Right. Because
this thing is, there's like so many watts of electromagnetic radiation, and you're just a bag of water that's heating up.
Yeah.
Okay. From like it's not a microwave. It's not trying to cook the water within you. It just happens to be that if there's a bunch of water, it will absorb this much radiation from the waves in the room. Like, so there's a calculable thing about how hot you're going to get. Yeah. But ionizing radiation, it doesn't just heat you up like a bag of water. It is like a sunburn, but it's literally the radiation coming from the sun is 1,000 watts per meter. But the radiation coming from, let's say, a bar of uranium or something is, if you could see it, it'd be glowing like way brighter than the sun.
Yeah.
Like it'd be blinding. But it's hitting your body and it's passing right through you.
Yes.
And breaking things as it goes. But it's literally causing you a sunburn through the first, second, third, fourth, all your muscles, all the way to your bones. That kind of problem.
Yes.
So that's why people die.
Temperature is...
No, it's not temperature. It's burn.
Yeah.
But it's like a sunburn. But imagine a 3rd-degree sunburn all the way through every tissue layer.
Yeah, now is that pure positive
and then it's broken. Well, yes, of course it's going to create positive electricity. You can get the same thing from like if I made an ionization gun or something, like a proton beam, and I aimed it at acrylic, that's what you do. You calculate how bright it has to be so it stops inside the acrylic. It doesn't go outside. So you build up a bunch of charge in the middle, and then you just crack the edge of it, and then it creates that Lichtenberg pattern. You've seen probably those in acrylic glass and stuff. So it's pretty cool stuff. But as you can see, the symbols, like that symbol right there, that owl, that's from the bottom of the planet, I think. Like it's not from the bottom, but that's the owl eyes that are down near the base of the swatter mat.
And Jupiter? Oh, okay. I thought that was the eyes of Jupiter. I'm
not sure. I'm okay to be wrong on that one.
Yeah.
But I don't know the exact time. I just know that this is associated with Venus, which is weird to me.
Yeah.
The owl and Athena, owl and Venus, and that's so common. It's all the way down to Star Wars now. Ahsoka in Star Wars has an owl that follows her around. Like that's how old that myth is.
Possibly
she's also
comets.
She's also the lady that has white lightsabers. And tails. She has 2 tails on her head. She's Venus in this depiction.
Yeah, interesting.
But I mean, in a mythic sense, it's even if they didn't accidentally, it's just an accidental callback. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like they might not even know they did it. It's just like it seemed right. Like the hero fights the dragon for the girl. Yeah. That story always seems right because we saw something like that. Yeah. But see how all these hands are sticking out of this god? Yeah. That to me is similar to what we're seeing.
It was always changing, always morphing. It seemed.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of them are like he's sitting on the throne, but he knows how he's going away, and these are the gods that are going with him. I think those are his other ones, the other planets that are with him as he takes them away.
Yeah.
And he's on his seat. This is the you know that Baphomet stance that George Washington had? They're the one with the arm up, or it was also in The Shining. He has one arm down, one arm up. Notice his arms? This is the same stance, and that chair is the same chair. So that symbol of Baphomet is Jupiter or whatever.
That could be the assembly of gods.
Yes, I think it's the assembly of gods that were taken away with him. Yeah. Now, remember, the gods went to live in the underworld, right? So.
Well, you said something that intrigued me. Something about electrical devices found in Hindu temples.
Yeah, actually, I have this page up right now.
Well, go ahead and share. And I'll put the.
I interviewed him a while ago, William Armin Sosa, but
okay.
But I watched parts of. Yeah, it's okay. I'm just gonna put this here, and I'm going to just move ahead. So he's obviously talking about the Dendrolites. We've obviously talked about them before, but this guy gave me an idea. Like he obviously got an idea. This is that guy that Praveen Mohan that does all those Indian temple shit. I shouldn't say shit, but where he's talking about powerful forces. So he's making these shapes inside these plasma tubes, but he's trying to talk about the ancient Egyptian stuff. And I think that what they're looking at here is the leftovers of what they could actually do in the past. Like they might have been like underneath there, and I'm not saying they are, but could you imagine they actually had technology, and because of constantly being buried and stuff and stripping things, it's all gone. But even during times like if you had this hand buzzer and thing like that, it was called a rattle. And I was talking to someone else and I realized that what?
I got it. Yeah, I finally found it. The giant light bulb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, the idea then to me was like, what did they have before? And I noticed that the cistern protelum, or the actual rattle thing, it's called a rattle. That's the name for it in ancient Egypt. But it looks. Imagine if you didn't know how it worked, right? And you had one from, after a while it's gone. You take out all the shit, and you want to make that sound again. So you put something on there, and put a little ball in it, right? It's like a rock.
Right.
And because it's a rattle, it's supposed to rattle, but it's actually the electric field closing contacts that makes the rattling sound. But now, and then we give it to kids as a rattle. See?
Yeah.
It's the same friggin' name, and it looks exactly the same.
It's a rattle.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's I think the he's showing. This is the gentleman in question, but I'll show you the cistern protelum idea there. But let's not worry about some of this. It was the fact that I started watching him, or this gentleman, Praheen, whatever his name is there.
Praveen Mohan.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that.
Mohan. I'll have to search it and check him out. I'm always looking for something new.
There, this one.
My wife hates his voice.
Yeah, me too. Well, I should say I hate him.
In the Chandi Kimpala
See,
temple.
this is kind of cool.
Hey guys,
And watch.
archaeologists found an ancient wire in the Chandi Kimpala temple in Indonesia. Yes, this is the actual picture of
Piece of fucking wire.
Bronze
copper
wire,
alloy
it's
wire found
it's
during the
turtle.
excavation, and in
But
it
this is wire.
is an ornamental ring.
It's not ornamental. It's
Upon
No.
closer examination,
found
they were
wire
shell
and
shocked
also,
because it was not a
what
ring,
used to be an
it was a
antenna.
wire,
They tried-
just like the
they
electrical
tried it.
wires we use today. Archaeologists confirm that
just 1 second.
is about
So
1,200
Like
years
an
old.
ancient crystal set.
The
Yeah.
archaeology report published
Exactly.
by the Indonesian government
now let's skip some of this stuff.
the work
Okay. Now I know I wasn't interested in all of this stuff, but I did notice one part that was very interesting. And I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone here. He's obviously going through some experiments, but I want to see he actually shows some of them. Like, why did we do some of these things? Okay, clearly he's going off into a deep end I didn't want to go. But, yeah, these things.
excavated around the
Lingam.
Carefully, they
Yes.
found something placed on a small pedestal. Yes, it is an earthen pot placed exactly under the spout of the base. This is not the norm in most ancient temples. You don't usually find this setup. They also found
So he starts talking about these actual what lingams are, and he realized they're connected underneath
tiny particles of gold.
these things. Basically, these lingams are batteries. You put a juice inside of them, and they make 2.5 volts.
Yeah, and you have a battery of them, like
Made of rock.
6 or 12 together.
But it tells me that these were holy items, though.
Yeah, well,
They
they're
didn't, like-
representations of Shiva.
Well, it doesn't matter what they're.
Yeah.
Whatever the representative is irrelevant. What I meant is that they're like irrespective of a connection to God, they are holy, and therefore, like measuring things that you think is holy is kind of weird to people. If you get my meaning. So, how, like they would be amazed at that. But it took someone like Faraday, who knew calculus, to sit there and go, I wonder.
Yeah.
And he realized there was a right-hand rule and all these other things that you would never know if you just played with them like that. And you wouldn't need any math. You just had to calculate the twists and turns of the wire, because it's all based on how many turns.
Yeah, those guys are thinking on a whole different level.
Well, I think that they were really impressing people is what they were. Like you would, how much would you pay people if you can create electricity or give them a shock? Literally, feel the power of God, to make your hair stand on end.
Yeah, like crazy things too, like levitation.
Or lighting up. Well, no, this is not even levitation. We're just talking about making your hand stand on end, which would be levitation of your hair, which would be
And they would call it the life force.
Right, of course, you get the idea. And that's why they'd see it, and they wouldn't see the effect, but they'd see lights glow or buzzers, and just that alone is enough to make you go, oh, well, I'll donate money.
Right.
Because that's what they want, right?
Oh,
and we're talking about but this is a dying society. This is after Kemet.
Yeah.
These people that we're talking about who made this and made the stuff in ancient Egypt, the Dendera light and stuff, that's not a contemporary. Like if Aristotle came down there, they would go to our temple of the most secret of secrets, and you will see something that had never been seen. They didn't know what electricity was. They hear a buzzer, and then a light comes on. That would fucking freak you out. You'll pay money for that, and no one else can do that.
It'd be like magic.
Yes, exactly. And they're playing with the powers of gods. They must know something. I'll pay for their tutelage. I'll donate for their temples. And this is what Aristotle would going down there. The cult of Aristotle and stuff like that would go down to these people and try to learn stuff like this. So, but clearly, this is a leftover of what was before underneath all that sand, in my opinion. We are only seeing like that. Now, I think you might have heard of this, which is the labyrinth has been found.
Underneath the Great Pyramid?
No, not that one.
Okay.
The Great Labyrinth of ancient Egypt. They think it's still there, and inside they detected, they did ground surveys from space. They can't stop them from doing that. And even from space, they could detect a 40-meter long metal object still down there. 40 meters.
Where is it located?
Well, I'll just go here since we're just right here. Since we were talking about this, but this is what I'm hearing. The Great Labyrinth. I'm probably not saying that. I'll just go with that. I don't want to go into nuts here, so stop with all that stuff.
Good.
Turn off that. Go from this. So this is. These are.
Yeah, I see.
This is the pictures.
Edition, a collaboration between Egyptian
So they
authorities
did these scans. That's a Hawara pyramid.
funded by
And this is
Louis
notice, this is very important that so much sand has fallen. Okay, that what you're looking at here is not even the remains of the thing. This is the remains of the city, the town that used to mine that object. They were mining the labyrinth. But the thing is, there's also a canal that was cut through the labyrinth. But here's the thing. The labyrinth underneath this is still airtight, as far as I know. No water got into it. And only the first layer has been destroyed. What they thought was the first layer is actually not the first layer. It's actually just it's not the ground, it's the roof of the second layer. The second, which is bigger and more grand than the first. This thing, of course, is bigger than all the temples and pyramids of Egypt combined into one thing. This would still be bigger. Yeah. All the pyramids alone could fit inside this.
The results of this expedition clearly indicate the presence
Well, what I'm telling you is just look how old it must be.
in levels much deeper
It's
than
buried and buried and buried because of all the sand.
the density akin
And
to granite. Would detect
the Nile kept coming up and up and up, right?
this canal in depths exceeding 9 meters or around 30 feet below
So
the ground.
this is the top
Although this
from Roman times.
conducted with
And at the bottom,
Operation
that's the canal. Look at it.
Supreme Council
And they didn't touch the bottom. They didn't touch the roof of it.
And
It's still under there.
legitimate
It's underneath that.
have never been released.
That's how deep it is.
Authorities and the expedition team members
So let's just jump ahead to.
Horus at its northern edge
Mars.
took place.
Yeah.
By way
No, the sand did,
Nile.
but it's the. Let me show you.
columned halls that would
Okay, here's what they're describing in there. Now,
structures, including
the reason I wanted to mention it is because we're talking about ancient technology. Now, we're talking about the things that are like buried under the sand in front of the Valley Temple and all these things that are way down there. We don't even know if the ancient Egyptians ever found them even. But
But we
all
know
the really
We know the Osiris.
Yes, Osiris.
The Osiris. Osiris in front of the Sphinx is 15 meters deep. That moat that surrounds the center portion of it, that's 15. It goes down 15 meters to the.
And clearly, they did some amazing work on that temple because it's megalithic. And even the pyramids aren't megalithic technically.
Yeah.
Except for the big granite blocks that we know of on the inside. Now, right here though, they're going to talk about what this is, and this is what sold me into thinking that this was sort of like, this is not even part, like this is just like a museum on the side of their culture. Do you get my meaning? And Herodotus is the guy that went in there. Herodotus, of course, is the guy who wrote the Theogony, the history of the gods of Greece. Okay, 2,700 years ago.
One of Egypt's colossi, of which only some small...
no, he wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Yeah.
So these objects are on either side of the pyramid. Now, these are, I think, gone, but you'll see how big they were, and they were defined there by Herodotus, who was this tall. So
fragments were found, but they were enough to reconstruct the scale and approximate size of the statue. In this case, it would have stood around 50 feet high, or nearly
but
50 meters.
It is simply how old, like what you're going to understand how big this is.
A unique structure.
If this is real.
Of the glory of ancient Egypt.
But here's the description of it, and since this is the location of it,
millennia,
because it's still there. I mean, they didn't have radar, obviously, back then.
Entrance to the Fayum Oasis.
So we knew it was in here.
Tales differ. A consistent theme of ancient first-hand accounts of the labyrinth is that it was truly massive, along with being megalithic in construction, of a huge arrangement.
They broke off this
large granite blocks.
Like they broke off granite here. There was like basically turned into a granite quarry
from
just to break it up.
Where in Egypt, it was supposed to have contained thousands of chambers and rooms.
Thousands.
A bewildering number of passages spread over multiple levels.
This is Herodotus'
columned halls that were dedicated to the full pantheon of Egyptian gods. The first recorded account we have,
but this is bigger than we could ever make. We could never make this
in the 5th century BCE.
So
even by this time,
who made it?
Well, how would you? This is basically, I'm saying that this is from even before Egypt. This is like if I was to say Egyptian or Berber or Greece, like Cleopatra, we're going back before the pyramids were made, type of thing.
Oh, you're talking about when Egypt was called the land of Chem.
Right, but I don't think Egypt was called the land of Hem. I think that all of the area of the Sahara was Chem, and we just have the corner left.
Yeah, some little piece.
The rest is buried; it's gone.
Yeah.
And there's so much sand came in that we didn't even realize that those temples were down there. We could find them.
About Saturn, it almost looks like it's sand blowing around.
It kind of does.
It's that color.
But let's just before I have to take off, I want you to hear this from Herodotus here. What they describe being there.
Go for 10 more minutes.
Labyrinth was already millennia old.
So he's talking. So when he saw it 2500 BC or 500 BC, okay, and even then it was millennia old then.
Yes.
And but he's describing it. He actually saw it when you could get there before they started mining the top of it. What they didn't realize is the bottom was completely still there. They just thought that the roof of the second layer was the floor, the ground.
Yeah, doesn't he even talk about autotrons?
Well, you're going to see what he says here. Give me an idea.
The first recorded account we have of this structure outside of Egypt itself comes from Herodotus in the 5th century BCE. Okay. Even by this time, the labyrinth was already millennia old, as it is thought to have...
So it's older than the pyramids then.
Although I do suspect deeper levels and its origins extend far further back than that.
But
in the second book of his...
Now watch what he says about it.
Wrote of the labyrinth, quote, "Now they," meaning the 12 kings of Egypt, "determined to leave in common a memorial of themselves, and having so determined, they built a labyrinth a little above the lake of Moeris, situated near that called the city of crocodiles. This I have myself seen, and found it greater than can be described. For if anyone should reckon up the buildings and public works of the Grecians, they would be found to have cost less labor and expense than this labyrinth, though the temple in Ephesus is deserving of mention, and also that in Samos. The pyramids likewise were beyond description, and each of them comparable to many of the great Grecian structures.
Yet the labyrinth surpasses even the pyramids.
For it has 12 courts enclosed with walls, with doors opposite each other, 6 facing the north,
he's been there,
6 the south, contiguous to one another, and the same exterior wall encloses them. It contains 2 kinds of rooms, some underground and some above ground over them, to the number of 3,000, 1,500 of each. The rooms above ground I myself went through and saw.
The above ground is personal. That's what they destroyed.
The underground rooms I only know from report.
See?
For the Egyptians who have charge of the building would on
no account
show me them, saying that there were the sepulchres chakras of the kings who originally built this labyrinth, and of the sacred crocodiles. I can therefore only relate what I have learned by hearsay concerning the lower rooms, but the upper ones, which surpass all
human works.
I myself saw, for the passages through the corridors.
This is a guy who lived in ancient Greece, who saw all the ancient temples, all the pyramids, and said, this was better than everything put together.
Things through the court.
And this, we don't even know. And God knows how. This is right beside the Nile. So how much fucking shit is back there inside of all buried under sand? We never know. The rivers are gone. You know, there's nothing there.
From their great variety, presented 1,000 occasions of wonder as I passed from a court.
I think that that what we call Kemet extended far into the Sahara where there was still, when it was lush.
Yeah.
And we're just seeing one side of it. It'd be like saying we know everything about the United States by only talking to the 13 colonies. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the rest of the United States is all out there, and you only know what America is from the 13. Yes, exactly. It's the tip of the iceberg of what I think. But why? How would you build this and lose it underneath so much sand in just a few thousand years and forget what it was? And even then, 2,500 years ago, it was still accessible, but the bottom part wasn't underground, I don't think. I think the bottom part used to be on the ground, and it just got buried and became the underground part. You see? Mm-hmm. So much sand fell.
To the rooms, and from the rooms to halls, and to other corridors from the halls, and to other courts from the rooms. The roofs of all of these are of stone, and also other walls, but the walls are full of sculpted figures. Each court is surrounded by...
They're still there, if that's the case. They're still down there.
And adjoining the extremity of...
It's still watertight.
40 orgae in height, on which large figures are carved, and away...
Well, it doesn't matter. We can still... Now we can do it from space.
End quote.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to cut into it to get into it. And what would happen if you fuck it up?
Of the labyrinth.
You have to be really careful.
Bibliotheca Historica, roughly around the year 50 BC.
You don't want to let moisture in, right? If they're tight.
The king died, the government was recovered by Egyptians, and they appointed a native king
and it's under the water.
Called Mares. Although he was responsible for no military achievements whatsoever, he did build himself what is
called the labyrinth as a tomb.
An edifice which is wonderful, not so much for its size, as for the inimitable skill with which it was built. For once in, it is impossible to find one's way out again.
So this is a depiction.
Who is perfectly acquainted with it. It is even said by some that Daedalus crossed over to Egypt, and in wonder at the skill shown in the building, built for Minos, king of Crete,
a labyrinth
like that in Egypt, which, so the tale goes, the creature called the Minotaur was kept. Be that as it may, the Cretan labyrinth has completely
disappeared,
either through
destruction,
ruler, or through the ravages of time.
But the Egyptian labyrinth remains absolutely perfect
in its entire construction down to my time, and seized with enthusiasm for this.
Exactly.
They strove eagerly to surpass all their...
Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they might have...
And other works of craftsmanship.
I mean...
They left no for this extent.
But if they knew this much about electricity now...
One had entered the sacred enclosure.
Or then...
One founded...
What did they know in the past?
40 to each side. And this building had a roof made of a single stone.
Well,
panels...
I just think it was easier to get power.
Paintings.
We didn't need to... Like, it was just more electricity in the atmosphere, as Shockwave said.
Also mentions the labyrinth in...
Yeah, the potential. Whereas it's... what is it?
One complexity of...
One
it would be just... It would be, no, it's 250 volts a meter.
Stones.
125,
sorry.
Sorry, 125 per meter.
I actually don't know now. I'm all confused.
Well, it's
one of those.
A step up every 3 feet that you go up. It jumps in potential. And the potential back then was higher than it is now.
See, now, this is what I want you to... They're describing it so well that you have to question, okay, what is going on here when you think about trying to make this.
Hidden chambers which are long and many in number and have paths running through each other which twist and turn so that no one can enter or leave any court without a guide. And the wonder of it is the roofs of each
chambers are made of single stones,
and the width of the hidden chambers is spanned in the same way by monolithic beams of outstanding size, for nowhere is wood or any other material included. End quote.
How in God's name? There's plenty of the other from Roman.
First century.
I remember this guy.
Also visited the labyrinth, and he wrote of it in his natural history books. Quote, let us of labyrinths, quite the most extraordinary works on which men have spent their money.
Now listen to this.
May be thought figments of the imagination.
There still exists even now.
Now in Egypt, in the Heracleopolite Nome, the one which was built first, according to tradition, 3,600 years ago. At any rate,
Pliny the Elder lived around 0.
Yeah.
So he's talking about this. If this is accurate, this object, this thing, is almost 6,000 years old, which is the age of Sumeria. and way older than pyramids by 2,000 years.
That Daedalus used this as the model for the labyrinth, which he built at Crete.
The new tunnels being created.
New what?
New labyrinth. Just it's whatever it is, it's long gone, right?
No, it's still there.
It's still there. Well, then
This whole thing, the first layer has been destroyed, but there's an there's a layer underneath which is airtight.
Yeah.
And it's the second layer in which Herodotus described.
Well, what the
that
hell is
he
that?
wasn't allowed to get down. Exactly. And if it's been buried and was just sealed up,
Yeah.
and no one ever got down there,
Yeah.
then all those treasures are still down there.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
Like I said, they found an object
It's mind-blowing.
that is made of metal.
Yeah.
They're not sure exactly which kind, but it's made of metal.
And then you don't know what it is.
And it's 40 meters long, which is 120 feet.
How come they're not going down there and getting that dang thing?
It's Egypt, man.
Yeah. Sorry, Hawass.
Well, he's not there anymore, but
He's
I'm
not?
sure that he can't stop what they're finding because satellites are getting better and better all the time.
Is beyond doubt, but it is
sure.
equally clear that he imitated.
Well, Zawi is not the one that
contains twisting parts and
Well, he
started
did stop
this-
it, but it doesn't matter now.
he
impossible.
perpetuated the.
Oh, he's full of shit.
Egyptian specimen,
Yeah.
to my considerable
But
astonishment,
look at this.
has its entrance and columns made of,
Persian marble.
while the rest is of Aswan granite. Such masses being put together as tiny,
Time itself could not dissolve.
even with the help of the Heracleopolitans, for they would have regarded the building with extraordinary hatred. It would be impossible to describe in detail the layout of that building and its individual parts, since it is divided into regions and
And administrative districts.
which are called nomes.
Gnomes.
Each of the 21 gnomes giving its name to one of the houses.
See?
A further reason is the fact that it also contains temples of
All the gods of Egypt.
Men are already weary with travelling when they reach that bewildering maze of paths. Indeed, there are also lofty upper rooms reached by ramps and porticos, from which one descends on stairways which have 90 steps each. Inside are columns of imperial porphyry, images of the gods, statues of kings, and representations of monsters. Certain of the halls are arranged in such way that as one throws open the door, there arises within a fearful noise of thunder. Moreover, one passes through most of them in darkness. There are again other massive buildings outside the walls of the labyrinth. They call them the wing. Then there are other subterranean chambers made by excavating galleries in the soil.
The fuck?
Yeah.
There are several more mentions of this great labyrinth throughout recorded history.
So
But at this point, it's enough to say
Make of it.
we know it's there,
Yeah.
and we know it's real, and they're like trying to track this, but here they get an idea of something else that I saw in here. I just wanted to, okay. Like, you see what I did? Just like, this is some
massive temples like Luxor or Karnak
Oh.
that are visited by millions of tourists each year. Ultimately,
Now, those-
the conclusion was that
that pyramid is built on top of all these stones. Look, so what were those stones underneath?
down
You see what I mean?
and only these ancient accounts of it remained.
So that pyramid, the structure on top of it was turned into a pyramid, maybe, instead of like it was originally a bunch of other different shapes that were like anywhere on the world, megalithic structure, and they put a pyramid on top of it.
Was the situation of the great labyrinth of ancient
Maybe so they changed.
lost to the sands of time and to the efficient quarrying of millennia, at least right up until the Matahar expedition of
Now,
2008.
there you go.
Matahar translates to labyrinth in Arabic, and this was a collaboration between the NRIAG, which is the National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics of Egypt, along with the Ghent University of Belgium, and Louis de Cordier,
Okay, just skip over a bunch of stuff.
who, through his Cosco Foundation,
I don't care about their people.
and there are the remains of the Ptolemaic and Roman era.
Up here.
And at 5 meters,
There's a water table.
where is the current water table, we find the slabs that Petrie mentions, although he believed these were the remnants of the foundations of the labyrinth. It's only once we get to the deeper levels, 6 to 9 meters below the surface, that the other structures appear. Also notice the level of the current water table
Is above it.
graph. It hasn't always been this high. It's only in the last few
It keeps going up and up and up because there's more sand.
demonstrate this by returning to the pyramid here, which does have a megalithic descending passageway underneath the primitive mud brick structure that's on the surface. Flinders Petrie found this passageway and penetrated.
What's it called?
Surely then,
It's called the Hawara labyrinth.
shows what can.
It's right up the corner. Hawara.
HAW.
And that's the reason structure is of the results of the very low frequency.
But here is this is what's underneath the slab that Flinders Petrie couldn't find. But you see what we're looking at, and they're all dry. So these are dry areas underneath that object. And what do they look like? Like, I mean, admittedly, this is a radar image, so you have to understand that they are blobs, but you can see that they're aligned at right angles. It's probably hallways.
Yes.
Testing at around 8 meters depth shows what can only be interpreted as structures, with different colors representing different materials and also possibly voids arranged in a grid-like pattern. These walls are said to have the characteristic.
Well, it doesn't even matter. The fact that it's there, or there could be some under the Sahara that are bigger than this, for all we know.
Such a discovery as this, the finding of a lost and mighty achievement of the ancient world, should have echoed around the globe. After all, only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world is still standing, the Great Pyramid. So strong evidence of something that is at least in.
Oh, yes. I don't think there's much else to say, but you can see that basically underneath all this, that all this could be under there, and it could be very interesting that, and like I said, there's metal that they detected. So
it's very fascinating, as always.
Well, if you're trying to look for something, like I said, there's several river systems that are technically inside of like that are supposed to have been completely buried, like the Nile. But the Nile starts outside of. It's supplied by rain outside of the Sahara.
Yeah,
and it comes up across and then goes up into the Mediterranean. So, well, up, but is in north, I guess. But the thing is, though, is that if there's mountains in the Sahara, so let's say it's raining there, right?
Right.
Well, then the sand is not there, and now they have lakes and streams and stuff like that, and rivers systems all there, and this would also be a place where they would happily live. Which, right, being beside Egypt, why would we think that if we know that the desert formed recently, like within the last 8,000 years, why did we, and humans lived in Africa for way, way longer, then why are we thinking that they would just not hang out in a fertile place right along the equator?
And the temperature had to be something, it's really crazy because you don't really know what its purpose was.
Well, we don't know what's there because technically it's just buried in sand. Like there's nothing, like just like all the stuff that we've dug out before. Like we dug out the Osirian, we dug out the sacred bull temples, all that stuff. Like, so if we can dig them out, well, technically they're a mile down though. How are you going to do a mile of sand?
Yeah, it's not easy.
No, but the fact that a mile of sand, we've drilled into miles of rock. Mm-hmm. So technically, we could drill down there where we know it's look like if we can, because sand's actually kind of easy to filter out. It's not wet, so you start looking for things that are more solid than sand, and you can start seeing the ground underneath it. There's been like you can just basically see right through it. So we know there's stuff down there, and we know that there's towns down there.
So we're in an ant farm.
Yes, well, but we just can't get to it.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Anyway,
yeah,
I think that would be a wonderful thing, but we should probably start looking at Egypt now is just think of them more like a bunch of con men with some tricks.
Yeah.
But they're living in a place that they don't understand. It's like the barbarians occupying Rome. Like they didn't even know how to use the bathrooms there, like they didn't know how to use anything. Wow, they just took it over. Well, it's the same type of thing where these people knew some tricks and they could exploit money from people to keep things going, but they didn't build anything.
No.
I mean, maybe they did some building, but they didn't build the great things that, and not to say that they couldn't work. I mean, obviously sandstone and other things, totally 100% granite. I mean, they could cut things, but I'm saying there's something clearly meaning that there seems to be more evidence that just by the fact that these things are on the wall.
Yeah,
tells you that they seem to understand at least more about electricity than the people after them did. And
they had to.
Right, but this was considered magic.
Yes.
And holy and all that stuff. But when we eventually get a hold of it, God didn't have electricity. He had holy light and glory. We didn't know what that meant. And well, but the good thing is that we didn't consider it magic. We just started studying it as a force, and lo and behold, we actually started using it. Now we have these wonderful monitors and this wonderful communication.
Very fascinating, as always. Thank you so much for doing the show. We'll have to get together again soon.
Oh, always. I'm very happy to do so. It's a wonderful...
Love having you.
It's always a wonderful time with you, but I can tell that you're getting tired, sir.
Yeah, well, I'm still battling, I've got...
Exactly. So I'm quite happy, and I'm happy that we even got a chance to be together. So this was wonderful.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to be here as long as I can stand.
Well, I would hope so, considering.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm not even going to think about.
Yeah, my
Go ahead,
biggest fear
sorry.
right now is getting pneumonia because my immune system is low, from the chemo and all that. And I went into the hospital. I had just a fungal lung infection, but it's still pretty serious. I'm on the.
Well, and also, since you're getting radiation, you're killing a bunch of your white blood cells anyway, so you're going to be very susceptible for that. So you got to be careful.
Yeah. Well, radiation's been done since July. I'm still feeling the effects.
No, but I mean, it'll take a while for your white blood cell to come back.
Yes.
Before you're going to be able to take a Z's and kill it.
Exactly. I'm recovering.
So I'm glad.
Yes.
I want to hear more of these later. Yes. So send it to me. I can't wait to hear it and show this to my friend. So.
I'll send it to you, and it will be on tonight at 10 o'clock. So tune in.
Perfect. All right, awesome.
Brother. Thanks for doing the show. Thanks, Shockwave.
No problem.
Andy was in no-show. He must be sleeping or something. He's
considering he's on the other side of the planet. Okay.
Yeah, it's Monday where he's at.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yeah, just that alone. Do people who believe in the flat Earth don't understand Australia? Is what's going on here?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, guys.
Talk to you later, my friends.
All right, take care, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And there we have it. Before I start this, I just wanted to say a few things. How you doing? Everything okay? I'm looking at chat on my phone and talking to you. I see Ray Carr and Snarl Ray. Thank you, hon. Thank you. And Ray Carr, it's good to see you in the chat, always. Not a lot of chatting going on, but excuse me. Yeah, that was a little conversation I had with Shockwave and Neil, my friend, and both of them. And sorry. And it's just, it got interesting. What are all these labyrinths doing all over the other side of the world? There's even some here in the U.S. Where are these things? Who created them? Doesn't it seem weird? It's like a city underground. No shit. And it's so intricate. I don't think no dummies could have created something like that. But, that just kind of whets my curiosity more, to know about the past and what happened and all that stuff. And it's always intriguing the older the civilization is. And there's been things that have happened to this planet that are mind-boggling, that anyone survived. But I had a good time. It's a good show. And then just as we were wrapping up, Andy came on. He just woke up. It was 8 a.m. there, and I didn't even think about that. You gotta start taking that into consideration. But I'm gonna play the 3 videos by Cochrane that we were talking about, and there's a treat because we get to see some belly dancers, and I always love that. All right, so I'm gonna play a video, and I'll be back.
The Horus Star. Preface. The earliest home of the gods that we can discern is the sky. Although an aura of mystery surrounds the religious beliefs of the ancient Egyptians, this much is certain. They were obsessed with the stars and planets. Their leading gods were identified with the most prominent celestial bodies. The pyramids were purposely patterned after a celestial prototype, the Akhet, and elaborately decorated with stars. And their single-minded goal, upon dying, was to return to a celestial hereafter wherein they hoped to be reunited with the Great Mother Goddess and the imperishable stars. In the face of the abundant and unequivocal evidence attesting to their profound interest in astronomical phenomena, it stands to reason that Egyptian religion is fated to remain elusive until we gain additional insight into that culture's core beliefs regarding the stars and cosmos. The present monograph attempts to summarize the data at hand and reconstruct the celestial background and mytho-historical context of ancient Egyptian stellar religion. To read the standard works on Egyptian religion is to learn that the sun was worshipped as Horus, the moon as Thoth, Orion as Osiris, Sirius as Sothis, and the circumpolar stars as the imperishable stars. It is our contention that each and every one of these oft-cited identifications is erroneous, and should this claim be substantiated, it follows that modern scholars have thoroughly misunderstood the original astronomical context of Egyptian religion. Indeed, as we will attempt to document this monograph, the time for a thorough reevaluation of the available evidence is long overdue. Horus and the deceased king. Horus, the first king and the pattern of rule and authority, royal ideology and ideas about the hereafter, seem to have cosmological and stellar foundations which they well go back to pre-dynastic times. The pyramid texts represent the oldest body of religious text in the world, and as such, they constitute an invaluable resource for reconstructing the worldview of the ancient Egyptians. Inscribed on the pyramid walls of pharaohs from the 5th and 6th dynasties, their primary purpose was to serve as an aid to the deceased king in his post-mortem ascent to heaven. The basic message of the ascension hymns in the pyramid text can be summarized in short order. The pharaoh aspired to ascend to heaven in order to achieve a transfigured state as an Ak. As a result of this magical transformation, which was held to occur within the Akhet, it was believed that the deceased king would be reborn, or otherwise rejuvenated, after which he would shine forever thereafter as an imperishable star. To this relatively straightforward summary, one which most Egyptologists would doubtless accept, he would append the following corollary beliefs. 1. The deceased king ascended to heaven in the form of a star. 2. The king ascended by means of a tangible structure, most commonly by a ladder, but also by sunlight or some other extraterrestrial contrivance. 3. The king longed to be reunited with the Jetian, commonly translated as the solar disk. The king's transfiguration involved a mysterium conjunctionis, specifically a physical reunion or rapprochement with a stellar mother goddess, personified alternatively as Hathor, Isis, or Nu. Confronted by this peculiar belief system, already fully developed by the time of Unis's pyramid, circa 2350 BCE, the question naturally arises as to how to explain its origin. We will return to this intriguing question in Chapter X. The pyramid texts contain a veritable goldmine of information about ancient Egyptian conceptions of celestial topography and various stars overhead. In order to reconstruct the mytho-historical context of ancient Egyptian funerary beliefs, it is first necessary to identify the star embodied by the deceased king. It is our view that the god Horus, already identified with the star in the 3rd millennium BCE, represented the divine prototype for the post-mortem ascent of the deceased pharaoh. PT 928 is instructive in this regard. I go up on this eastern side of the sky where the gods were born, and I am born as Horus, as him of the horizon. Purposely emulating Horus, the deceased king here ascends to the Akhet, the Egyptian word translated as horizon by Faulkner, the site of his much-anticipated magical transfiguration. It is doubtless no coincidence that the deceased king's final resting place corresponds precisely to the celestial locus traditionally assigned to Horus. As Horus resides in the Akhet, so too does the deceased king. The king's place is at the head of all the august ones who are in the horizon. As Horus resides at the front of the imperishable stars, so too does the deceased king. If Horus resides at the front of the stellar spirits, so too does the deceased king. If Horus settles in the solar bark, so too does the deceased king. Additional examples could be provided as well, but this brief summary should suffice to demonstrate a significant overlap with respect to the celestial stations associated with the deceased king Horus star. This striking correspondence in celestial placement in turn constitutes compelling circumstantial evidence that the mythology associated with the Egyptian pharaoh purposely modeled on the astronomical behavior and mythological career of the Horus star. See Chapter X. This deduction, in turn, naturally begs the question, is it possible to securely identify the Horus star?
And
The Horus star. Pharaoh is Horus, and of this god little enough is known. Horus was the power of kingship. To the Egyptians, this was as much a force of nature as those embodied in the other gods. It was manifest in two phenomena: the sun, the most powerful force in nature, and the pharaoh, the most powerful force in human society. Horus's role as the king of nature is probably the origin of his name. Heru seems to mean the one above or the one far off. This is apparently a reference to the sun, which is above and far off in the sky. Like the falcon with which Horus is regularly associated and with which his name is usually written. The great gods confront us already at the dawn of history. The Egyptian Horus is a case in point, his preeminence in Egyptian religion being evident everywhere. The pharaoh himself was considered to be the earthly embodiment of the god, a belief system reflected in the so-called Horus name borne by Egyptian rulers from the first dynasty on. Yet, if it is commonly acknowledged that Horus represents the quintessential Egyptian, there is no consensus as to his or fundamental nature. That he was a celestial power, all authorities concur. The question, however, is what celestial body best explains Horus's manifold functions in Egyptian religion. A survey of the relevant scholarship on the matter reveals that Horus has typically been identified with the sun. That said, leading Egyptologists have advanced arguments that the god is to be identified with the planet Venus, with the star Sirius, and with the amorphous sky itself. It is our opinion that all of these interpretations are not only erroneous, but fundamentally misguided insofar as they reflect a fatally flawed methodological approach to Egyptian star religion, namely, an attempt to force-fit the earliest descriptions of the most prominent celestial bodies to the familiar phenomena of the current solar system. The fuzzy thinking and faulty methodology which predominates in modern Egyptological circles is evident in the following statement from Rudolf Anthus. The heavenly Horus was a star as well as the sun, and perhaps also the moon. It seems as if he was that celestial body which appeared conspicuous either at day or at night. In order to bring some clarity to the difficult question of Horus's celestial identification, it is instructive to review archaic traditions that have survived from the prehistoric period. The cult of Horus is prominent already in pre-dynastic times. Rulers from the Naqada period, for example, worshiped the falcon god prior to the unification of Egypt. In the early dynastic period, circa 3000 to 2600 BCE, Horus is explicitly identified as a star. Thus, an annal from the first dynasty reign of King Aha bears the name Festival of the Horus Star of the Gods. Early royal domain names likewise reference the Horus Star. The domain established by Ananjeb First Dynasty was called Orsaba. Horus, Star of the Corporation of Gods. Hotep Sekemwe, Second Dynasty, founded a domain called Orankan Sabah. Horus, risen as a star. Kasekemwe, sounds like consequently. Domain was called Hersab. Horus, the Star of Souls. Most significant, perhaps, is the domain established by Djoser at the beginning of the Third Dynasty, named Dar Sabah NTPT, some crazy names, Horus Star at the front of the sky. To judge by the evidence of these names, Horus was conceptualized as a stellar power, indeed, as a most prominent star at the front of the sky. As valuable as they are, however, the epithets in question are not sufficiently informative to pinpoint exactly which particular celestial body represented Horus during this period. In addition to his status as a prominent star, there is clear evidence that Horus was identified as a powerful warrior very early on. This idea is apparently already in the pyramid text, as the following spell from Queen Neith's pyramid testifies. Well, they sure don't look like the Great Pyramid, do they? And that is a big question. Why is the Great Pyramid so much better than all these? That's rubble for the most part. So ascend to the sky amongst the stars in the sky, and those before you shall hide, and those after you shall be afraid of you. Because of this, your identity of Horus, of the duat, of the one who strikes them, of the one who spews them out and wipes them out, and you will strike them, spew them out, and wipe them out at the lake of the great green. You shall come to stand at the four of the imperishable stars and sit on your metal throne from which the dead are far away. And all these gods of theirs were like killers. I would think that the creator would be a benevolent creator of love, not death and murder. Anyways, it would make sense that these are planets for that reason. The name of early pharaohs likewise bear witness to Heru's warrior prowess. Today, Wilkinson offered the following observation. The Horus names of several First Dynasty kings express the aggressive authority of Horus, perhaps reflecting the coercive power of kingship at this stage of Egyptian statehood. Names like Horus the Fighter, Aha, Horus the Strong, Bujur, or Arm-Raising Horus, Ka, called, not to be confused with the Ka, or maybe it is, call to mind the warlike iconography of the earliest royal monuments from the period of state formation. This evidence, taken in conjunction with early dynastic domain names, sounds like the internet, suggests that the stellar Horus was imagined as a formidable warrior. As we will document, this portrait of the god constitutes a decisive clue as to his original stellar identification. Additional information regarding the star god Horus is to be found in the pyramid text, dating from roughly half a millennium later, at circa 2300 BCE. Horus was not the sun, as often maintained, is suggested by various hymns, wherein the god is explicitly distinguished from the ancient sun god Ra. In the following passage, for example, Horus, as the deceased king, is implored to ascend to heaven and join Ra. If you prefer it called Ra, I'm just calling it Ra. I found that they're just spelled different. It's the same god. It's Amun-Ra. Ra summons you into the zenith of the sky as the jackal, the governor of the two Enneads, Enneads, and as Horus,
S-O-N-T-M-N-I-T.
May he set you as the morning star in the midst of the field of rushes. Here, as elsewhere in the pyramid text, Horus is identified with the morning star. In this guise, Horus is described as the son of the sun god, and thus he would appear to represent a distinct celestial body altogether, presumably a particular prominent planet or star. In order to clarify the origins of Horus's cult, it would be necessary to identify the celestial body signified by the epithet morning star. Yet this, too, is easier said than done, insofar as the earliest Egyptian texts, such as the pyramid and coffin texts, never describe the Horus star in a clearly recognizable astronomical context that would enable a secure identification with a particular star. Instead, we read that the morning star, as Horus, ascended to heaven in order to command the imperishable stars in the celestial hereafter. Raymond Faulkner considered it a foregone conclusion that Venus must be the stellar body referenced by the phrase morning star. Thus, in a survey of Egyptian star lore, Faulkner wrote as follows. As regards to the identification of the morning star and the lone star, the actual celestial bodies, there can be little doubt that, as elsewhere, the morning star is Phosphorus, Venus as seen at dawn. Rolf Krauss has produced the most comprehensive and informed study of Egyptian star religion to date. He, too, would identify the Horus star with the planet Venus, citing as evidence various passages in the pyramid text that purportedly describe it as shining in the eastern portion of the morning star, of the morning sky, while moving with respect to other stars, a characteristic of planets rather than stars. Krauss summarized his findings as follows. As early as the beginning of dynastic times, Horus seems to be identified with the planet Venus. The names of the so-called royal vineyards describe Horus as a star. The name of Djoser's vineyards reveals that Horus is a particular star. At the front of the sky, the identification of Horus with Venus, as known from the pyramid text, suggests itself. Yet the identification of Horus with the planet Venus is not known from the pyramid text. Quite the contrary, as we intend to show. Indeed,
Krauss has simply assumed what has yet to be proven, that early references to Horus as the morning star have reference to Venus and argued in a wholly circular fashion, Lord of the netherworld. What then do the pyramid texts tell us about the Horus star? Horus's epithets offer a wealth of insight into his astral identity. Recurring epithet of the god is Duat, conventionally translated as netherworld, and written with the following determinative. The word Duat, in turn, is derived from the root, DW3, morning, whence comes Horus' epithet, nether Dua, signifying morning star, or morning god. The etymology of Duat suggests that Horus's identity as the morning star is indissolubly, but he uses some big words, doesn't he? It's words I never heard before. Indissolubly connected to his role as Lord of the Netherworld. Indeed, a passage from the pyramid text sets the two epithets in opposition. O morning star, Horus of the Netherworld, divine falcon, bird, whom the sky bore. Although often sought for underground, the earlier texts confirm that the Duat was celestial in nature. The following passage is especially telling in this regard. Make the sky clear and shine on them as a god. May you be enduring at the head of the sky as Horus of the Netherworld. Horus is here described as standing at the head or front of the sky as Lord of the Duat. This epithet, together with the fact that Horus star is said to shine and clear the sky, would appear to confirm the Duat's location in a prominent place in the visible sky overhead. Other spells implying that the Duat is to be found in close proximity to the ancient sun god point to the same conclusion. Especially relevant here is the following passage from the pyramid text, wherein the deceased king ascends to the Duat in order to be near Ra. Lift up your faces, you gods, who are in the netherworld, Duat, for the king has come, that you may see him. He, having become the great god, the king is ushered in with trembling. The king is robbed. Guard yourselves, all of you, for the king governs men. The king judges the living within the domain of Ra. The king sits with those who row the bark of Ra. Bark is another word for boat, I do believe. The king commands what is good, and he does it, for the king is the great God. Samuel Mercer, in his commentary on this particular message, acknowledged the Duat's fundamental identity with the domain of Ra.
Sorry, I forgot to mention, today was my birthday. I don't know why I didn't. I should have told you sooner, but having a piece of birthday pie. I didn't like cake. So, back to the show.
The DW3T, is that even a word? Oh, it's the Duat. The Duat here is heaven, identical with the land of Ra, which is heaven, where the king becomes a great god. The intimate association between Horus, Duat, and the region of the sky occupied by the ancient sun god is also evident in the following passage, wherein Horus is said to illuminate the sky from his station in the Duat near Ra. Ra has taken me to himself, to the sky, to the eastern side of the sky, as is this Horus, as the dweller in the netherworld, as this star which illuminates the sky, in apparent contradiction to its intimate association with the ancient sun god. The pyramid text elsewhere described the Horus star as standing in close proximity to the imperishable stars, the latter conventionally identified with the circumpolar stars. Thus, in the following passage, the deceased king is identified with Horus Duat and set among the imperishable stars. May you go up as Horus of the netherworld, who is at the head of the imperishable stars. Horus Duat is here described with the epithet, translated alternately as head or front of the imperishable stars. Taken literally, this passage poses a seemingly insurmountable problem for the conventional view that Horus is to be identified with the planet Venus, since the planet can hardly be said to stand at the front of the circumpolar stars in its current orbit
Venus never moves more than 45 degrees from the ecliptic and is thus far removed from the circumpolar region at all times. To summarize, a wealth of circumstantial evidence suggests that Horus Sop, the ancient Egyptians were describing a star otherwise identical with the Horus Duat, the latter star god being explicitly identified with the morning star by the authors of the pyramid text, and so far as Horus Duat is to be identified with the planet Mars. It follows that Horus Sop likewise had reference to the red planet. This identification will prove to be of profound and far-reaching significance when we turn to consider the celestial identification of the Sothis in the next chapter.
Ev has a cool website.
That he found buried in Jewish rabbinical
favorite.
Named their gods after the planets, or the planets got named after the ancient gods? I've wondered many times, how is it that these things can be little specks in the night sky, but the ancients knew so much about them? Their myths sound wild on the very surface of it. And if you listen to one myth, none of it makes sense. But people that can make art like that cave in France or build something as perfectly orientated to the north like the Great Pyramid, why would their stories be filled with nonsense? Everything about their myth makes sense when you put them all together, which inspired Immanuel Velikovsky and later David Talbot to do. And he has this fascinating theory called Saturn theory, and we explore it. For me, the more I learn, the more I keep coming back. And that's what we're getting into right now. We're exploring Saturn theory for our origin. A lot of it makes a lot of sense, and the thing that I like about it the most, it's as interesting as any subject, to put it mildly. So that's where we're headed. This time we're doing the Ev Cochrane's version. We pick up something new every time. Saturn Theory by E.V. Cochrane. The Saturn theory, in addition to presenting a comprehensive model of ancient myth, offers a radically different approach to understanding the recent history of the solar system. Briefly, the theory posits that the neighboring planets only recently settled into their current orbits, the Earth formerly being involved in a unique planetary configuration of sorts, together with Saturn, Venus, and Mars. As the terrestrial skywatcher looked upwards, he saw a spectacular and awe-inspiring apparition dominating the celestial landscape. At the heart of heaven, the massive gas giant Saturn appeared fixed atop the north polar axis, with Venus and Mars set within its center like two concentric orbs. See Figure 1. Where Venus is the green orb and Mars the innermost red orb. Kind of looks like one of those olives. I wonder if that's why they made it look like that. The olive, that is. It looks just like one, doesn't it? The theory holds that the origin of ancient myth and religion, indeed the origin of the primary institutions of civilization itself, is inextricably linked to the numinous appearance and evolutionary history of this unique congregation of planets. How does one go about documenting this extraordinary claim? Extraordinary claims, it is commonly said, require extraordinary evidential support in order to be believed. While I believe the Saturn theory can and eventually will meet this crucial test, it goes without saying that a discussion of the various lines of evidence pointing to the polar configuration would require several volumes in order to make a compelling case. In this brief overview, alas, I can do no more than offer a small sampling of the relevant evidence. If the truth be known, the Saturn theory suffers from an embarrassment of riches with respect to evidence which supports the central tenets of the theory. Early descriptions of the Sun and various planets from Mesopotamia and elsewhere describe them as occupying impossible positions and moving in a manner which defies astronomical reality, as currently understood, that is. The ancient sun god, for example, is said to rise and set upon the same sacred mountain. The planet Venus is described as standing at the heart of heaven or within the crescent of sin, with respect to evidence which supports the central tenets of the theory. Mars is pointed to as a principal agent behind eclipses of the ancient sun god. While not one of these scenarios is possible given the current order of the solar system, each is perfectly consistent with the history of respective planets in the polar configuration as reconstructed by Saturnus. The testimony from ancient myth and folklore is equally unequivocal that the respective planets once moved on radically different orbits and rained catastrophe from the skies. Even if the message has been overlooked and ostracized by everyone except Velikovsky. Thus, numerous cultures tell of a time when different suns ruled the heavens. This belief was especially common in the New World. The idea that the sun was not eternal was shared by other American Indian tribes so widely that we consider it must have been part of their belief long before any culture had arisen in the Americas. The Popol Vuh, lauded as the Mayan Bible, attests to the same idea. Their previous sun is described as follows. Like a man was the sun when it showed itself. It showed itself when it was born and remained fixed in the sky like a mirror. Certainly it was not the same sun which we see, it is said in their old tales. Equally widespread are traditions which report that a great monster once eclipsed the sun and brought the world to the brink of destruction. Countless cultures preserve memory of the terrifying time when Venus assumed a comet-like form. A spectacular conjunction of planets dominated the celestial landscape. Such traditions can be documented from one culture to another, and upon systematic analysis, reveal numerous analogous structural details. A telltale sign that they were inspired by common experience of spectacular celestial events rather than creative imagination and fantasy. In addition to the remarkably detailed and consistent testimony from ancient myth and folklore, the artistic record likewise provides compelling evidence that the planets only recently moved on radically different orbits. Consider, for example, 3 images depicted in Figure 2 here, as I have documented. Such images are ubiquitous in the prehistoric rock art of every inhabited continent. Hitherto, they have been interpreted as drawings of the sun by virtually all leading authorities on ancient art and religion. This, despite the fact that they do not have any obvious resemblance to the current solar orb. It is noteworthy that the ancient sun god was depicted in the very same manner by the earliest civilizations in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Shows an Akkadian seal in which the Shamash disk is represented as an eye-like object, as in the first image in Figure 2. Figure 4 shows the Shamash disk as an 8-pointed star or wheel. Figure 5 shows the Shamash disk as an 8-petaled flower. Numerous other variations upon these common themes could be provided, all impossible to reconcile with the appearance of the solar orb. That's Figure 4 and 5. It is at this point that the researcher is presented with a theoretical dilemma, the successful resolution of which promises to unlock the secret of our planet's extraordinary recent prehistory. If one elects to dismiss the specific and consistent imagery associated with these ancient solar images as the product of creative imagination, the typical approach of conventional art historians, one is also forced to dismiss the equally widespread testimony that different suns prevailed in ancient times. This approach has little to recommend it, for it involves nothing less than turning a deaf ear to the testimony of our ancestors, and in any case,
which thus far has produced precious few insights into the origin of ancient symbolism and myth. Yet, the alternative is equally unthinkable, for it involves accepting these endlessly reoccurring images as accurate drawings of the ancient sun, albeit one different in nature and appearance than the currently prevailing. As bizarre as this possibility appears at first glance, it does have much to recommend it. The ancient Babylonians were careful to distinguish Shamash from the current sun.
It was this little-known datum which led Velikovsky to consider the possibility that Saturn formerly appeared more prominent, perhaps even serving as a sun-like body for the satellite Earth. Velikovsky's seminal insight, in turn, served as a theoretical foundation for the subsequent researches of Talbot, Cardona, Rose, Tressman, Neugrosch, and others, who offered further evidence for the basic claim that Saturn once dominated the heavens, a fact reflected in the otherwise puzzling prominence accorded this planet in the earliest pantheons.
The Saturn theory receives additional support from the representation of the planet Venus in ancient art.
A straightforward interpretation of the various images superimposed upon the solar disk in Figure 2 would understand the first as an eye, the second as an 8-spoked wheel or star, and the third as an 8-petaled flower. Now, it is a remarkable fact that the planet Venus is consistently associated with these very forms, from one ancient culture to another. The ancient Sumerians, for example, represented Venus as Inanna, as an eye goddess, 8-pointed star, and 8-petaled flower or rosette. Consider the figurine represented in Figure 6 here, thousands of which were discovered by Max Mallowan during his excavations of the Inanna precinct at Uruk. Similar eye goddesses have been found throughout the ancient world, from Neolithic Europe to India. Figure 7 shows an early cylinder seal from the Jemdet Nasser period, circa 3000 BC, depicting Inanna as an eye goddess, alongside her familiar 8-petaled rosette there. Figure 7, the sacred iconography surrounding the Akkadian Ishtar, reveals the same basic images. Thus, Figure 8 shows Ishtar, Venus, together with an 8-spoked wheel, while Figure 9 shows Ishtar, Venus, together with an 8-pointed star. Figure 10 shows Ishtar in conjunction with a rosette-like star. The fact that the planet Venus is associated with the very same forms in Mesoamerica, where the observation and worship of our sister planet formed an obsession, strongly supports the conclusion that such images have their own origin in ancient appearance of the planet. The same conclusion is supported by the fact that cultures as distant and disparate as those of the Australian Aborigines, Maya, Polynesians, and Chinese describe Venus by epithets signifying great eye, great star, and luminous flower. How are we to explain this curious state of affairs, whereby Venus is associated with the various symbols seemingly depicted in prehistoric sun images? Surely not by reference to the current solar system, for Venus does not even vaguely resemble an eye, 8-pointed star, or flower. Yet if Venus only recently appeared superimposed against the backdrop of Saturn, Shamash, as per the reconstruction offered by Talbot and myself, depicted in Figure 1, its role as an eye is explained at once. Upon further evolution of the polar configuration, Venus assumed a radiant appearance, sending forth streamers across the face of the ancient sun god. See Figure 11. This situation is reflected in the latter two images in Figure 3 and accounts for Venus' role as a star or luminous flower. Planets in ancient lore. At the turn of the century, it was widely held that the most sacred traditions of the creation, deluge, golden age, dragon combat, etc., were nature myths describing the stereotypical behavior of the two primary celestial bodies. Typically, in allegorical or humoristic fashion, the Saturn theory offers a similar conclusion with the all-important proviso that the planets formerly dominated the celestial and intellectual horizons rather than the current sun and moon. That the earliest gods and mythical figures of the various cultures are celestial in nature is easily shown. The Sumerian goddess Inanna, explicitly identified with the planet Venus already at the dawn of the historical period, circa 3300 BCE, is a case in point and might well serve as an exemplar for comparative analysis. Virtually every ancient culture will feature a goddess with notable structural affinities to Inanna, although the identification with Venus is not always preserved. The Pawnee Indians of the American Central Plains, for example, celebrate the wondrous deeds of the primeval goddess Cupitica, identified with Venus. It was her union with the warrior god Pararaku, explicitly identified with the planet Mars, which signaled the crowning event of creation. The second god, Tirawahat, placed in the heavens, was evening star, known to the white people as Venus. She was a beautiful woman by speaking and waving her hands. She could perform wonders through this star and morning star, Mars. All things were created. She is the mother of the Skiri. As the Pawnee traditions attest, the planet Mars played a prominent role in ancient myth and religion. Wherever one looks, one will find the red planet accorded a numinous power wildly out of proportion to its present modest appearance. The Sumerian war god Nergal, early on identified with the planet Mars, forms a pivotal figure in comparative analysis. Thus, it can be shown that war gods and warrior heroes from every corner of the globe share numerous characteristics in common with the Sumerian god, including some of a remarkable specific nature. To take but one mythical theme of hundreds available, the Makuritari Indians of the Amazonian rainforest tell of a time when the hero, Ahizahama, identified with the red planet, climbed a giant stairway to the sky. The fact that a very similar story was related of Nergal in ancient Mesopotamia suggests that the mythical theme originated in objective historical events involving the red planet. Yet,
one looks in vain for a satisfactory explanation of this particular mythical theme, given the current order of the solar system, wherein a celestial stairway is not to be found. Neolithic rock art, however, offers countless examples of stairway-like appendages descending from the ancient sun god, thereby complementing and helping to illuminate the universal myth of a luminous stairway spanning the heavens. See Figure 12. The possibility thus presents itself that the stairway to heaven was a visible apparition associated with the ancient sun god during a particular phase of the polar configuration towards a science of mythology. With the goal of developing a rigorous scientific methodology for the study of ancient myth, the Saturnist would offer a series of basic ground rules deemed to be essential if researchers are to discover the true significance and message of ancient mythical traditions. First and foremost, perhaps, is the general proposition that ancient myth constitutes an invaluable and generally trustworthy source for reconstructing a valid history of our solar system. Far from being a leap of faith, this fundamental finding of the Saturn theory derives from several decades of extensive research into ancient myth and can be demonstrated using normal methods of logic and evidence. A second basic tenet would emphasize the comparative method. Simply stated, no ancient myth or primary cultural institution is fully understandable in isolation. Egyptian myth, to take but one example, is incomprehensible apart from detailed analysis of analogous themes and motifs. From ancient Mesopotamia to the New World, both of which provide the indispensable link to early astronomical traditions, all but lost in Egypt itself. Horus's identification with the morning star and Mars offers a notable exception in this regard and forms a close analog to the Pawnee traditions surrounding the red planet. Hathor's identification with the Eye of Ra, for example, can only be understood by reference to the widespread idea whereby Venus once formed the central eye of the ancient sun god. Note further that Hathor's name, which signifies House of Horus, captures perfectly the essence of the relationship between Venus and Mars, as illustrated in Figure 1. The planet goddess Hathor Venus, as the Eye of Ra, literally housed the warrior Horus Mars. It is little wonder then, given the reconstruction offered here, that the Egyptian pyramid and coffin texts implore the dead king, as Horus, to ascend the numinous celestial ladder in order to join Ra and reign in the mansion of Hathor in the sky. I am Horus. Give me the ladder which you gave to my father, so that I may ascend on it to the sky and escort Ra. The third basic tenet of the Saturn theory holds that ancient myth and ritual typically commemorate dramatic events witnessed by human beings. If myth constitutes a creative interpretation of the traumatic celestial events, in pseudo-historical terms, the flooding of the world, the warrior heroes consorting with a beautiful goddess, ritual originated as a purposeful and remarkably fateful attempt to reenact the fateful events in question. Mars, climbing out of the celestial stairway, for example, was reenacted in countless sacred rites throughout the ancient world. The archetypal rite of the sacred marriage, attested already at the dawn of history in Mesopotamia, purports to commemorate the king's union with the planet Venus, Inanna. The original inspiration for this bizarre rite, as I have theorized, was the spectacular conjunction of Venus and Mars in prehistoric times. A fourth basic tenet of the Saturn theory holds that historical evidence, together with consistent or widespread human testimony, must be given credence, even if a ready explanation of such testimony is not immediately obvious or appears to contradict current scientific opinion. Velikovsky's admonition in the preface to Worlds in Collision serves as a rallying cry here. If occasionally historical evidence does not square with the formulated laws, it should be remembered that a law is but a deduction from experience in an experiment. Therefore, laws must conform with historical facts, not facts with laws. The famous controversy over the likelihood that rocks, meteors, could fall from the sky, a possibility denied by several of the best minds of the 18th and 19th centuries, might well serve as a prototype here. Formerly dismissed
as too ridiculous to merit serious discussion. The fact that meteorites occasionally fall to Earth from heaven was well known to the ancient Sumerians. All but lost for several millennia, such knowledge is once again commonplace amongst schoolboys everywhere. Equally lesson-laden is the ongoing controversy over the possibility that rocks from Mars could somehow find their way to Earth, fervently denied by various leading authorities until quite recently, circa 1987. The eventual triumph of the Martian meteorite hypothesis is yet another classic example of the leading paradigms of the scientific age being instantly overturned by a series of anomalous findings. Such examples could be multiplied ad infinitum. Science, much like religion, proves to be notoriously malleable in this regard. What is considered impossible or futuristic by one generation might well come to be accepted by future generations unencumbered by similar prejudices. A fifth basic tenet of the Saturn theory holds that recurring anomalies in ancient myth and tradition offer a key to discover. Certainly, it is most unlikely that one culture would invent traditions of fire-breathing dragons or witches that once threatened to eclipse the ancient sun god. Yet, when one finds the very same improbable motif from one ancient culture to another, logic suggests that something other than fantasy and coincidence is at work here, unencumbered by similar prejudices. A sixth central tenet of the Saturn theory holds that the history and evolution of the polar configuration constitutes nothing less than the history of the gods. The birth of the warrior hero, the warlike rampage of the mother goddess, the death or eclipse of the primeval sun god, and 1,000 different themes alike, all have their inspiration in the spectacular events associated with the evolution of the polar configuration. A seventh basic tenet of the Saturn theory holds that future discoveries vis-a-vis the geology and geomorphology of the respective planets will act to either confirm or deny the model. For it stands to reason that if the extraordinary history described here has any basis in reality, such events must have left an indelible mark on the planets that participated in the polar configuration. It is also expected that some of these telltale signs of participation in the polar configuration will prove to be difficult, if not impossible, to explain by any other model. A fundamental objection to the Saturn theory. The most obvious objection to the Saturn theory is its apparent incompatibility with conventional astrophysics. This is indeed a formidable objection, one deserving of serious attention and ultimately a valid answer, ideally in terms of offering a viable physical model for the polar configuration. While promising steps towards achieving a viable physical model have been achieved, the models of Grubal and Driscoll, for example, such attempts have thus far proved preliminary and only partly successful. Much work remains to be done in this area, preferably by scientists trained in the requisite fields of astronomy, physics, and mechanics. Personally, I remain confident that an answer will be found, if for no other reason than it is highly improbable that a theory with so much historical evidence in its favor could prove entirely illusory. If the history of science teaches us anything, it is there is ample precedent for reserving judgment on a historical thesis well supported by evidence, but lacking a viable physical model. Darwin's theory of evolution, to take a particularly notorious example, languished for decades under the objection that it lacked a viable model of heredity, which could explain how the much-needed genetic changes could originate and come to be fixed rather than blended as per earlier models of heredity. Already by the time of Darwin, there was a wealth of evidence that evolution had occurred. How else are we to explain the fact that modern whales occasionally show traces of vestigial hind limbs and hip girdles, but a viable model of heredity was not yet at hand, to say nothing of a chemical model for genetic mutation or embryonic differentiation. Even today, well over 100 years later, many of the most fundamental questions surrounding the biochemical mechanisms of evolution remains unanswerable. We still have little understanding of how the various phyla originated, or why some species proved successful while others became extinct. In the meantime, however, while modern biology awaits a solution to these truly perplexing and formidable mysteries, no informed scientist can doubt the historical reality that biological evolution has occurred. The question is, how did life evolve, and by what precise means? A similar situation surrounds the Saturn theory, in my opinion. Here, too, the historical evidence is unequivocal that various planets once participated in a polar configuration and wreaked havoc with the inner solar system. The question is, how are we to understand these tumultuous historical events from the standpoint of physics? F. Cochrane. Here, Rick. The one biggest hurdle for me is how could the ancients worship these bloodthirsty killers they got when it would be a speck in the sky that takes 29 years to orbit the sun? As they say, that dog don't hunt. That is the biggest conundrum of all. And also all the worldwide iconography, and it's all still with us today. It's amazing how much Saturn is in our culture. All right, that'll do it for me. Thank you for all of you that have donated, and please like, share, and comment on this video so more people can see it. Take care. I'll see you on down the road.
eyes off
letters, as you see, we read with different eyes, with different minds. We are in a state of a victim of amnesia. Humankind is a victim of amnesia. And a victim of amnesia does not act responsibly. He acts irrationally.
If he comes into conjunction with Saturn, it means the holy books, that is, Judaism, which is older than the others, just as Saturn is the father of the planets. If Jupiter comes into conjunction with Mars, it means the Chaldean law, which teaches the worship of fire. If it is with the Sun, it means the Egyptian law, which means that one worships the celestial army led by the Sun. If with Venus, it means the law of the Saracens, which is pleasure-loving and lascivious. And if it is with Mercury, the mercurial law, which is Christianity, until, at last, the law of the moon will come to disturb it, and that is the sect of the Antichrist. It should be mentioned that this theory would later be explicitly rejected by Ficino on account of its overly
Yeah, I wanted to say something right there. You know, as I was thinking about it the other day, you know, the Jewish religion, the moon is involved in a lot, and they claim, you know, Adam came from the moon, or Thoth came from the moon. They called the moon sin. Well, they spelled it with a Y, S-Y-N. Oh, but that's just like the word sin, S-I-N. And I wonder, did the moon bring sin to the earth? And when sin first arrived, it rose over the Agag Mountains. That's why they call it a synagogue. That is no shit neither. That's crazy. So, you know, I'm wondering if the earth, you know, they said food was abundant and it was lavish with life, and then sin showed up. So, you know, make of that what you will, but I think it's just a little too close to be a coincidence. Just food for thought.
Deterministic character. In Picatrix, however, each of the planets have their own respective religions to govern, but the planet-to-religion breakdown differs somewhat from that of Abu Mashar's Great Conjunction scheme. Picatrix's breakdown is as follows. Saturn, Judaism. Jupiter, Christianity. Mars, heresy and apostasy. The Sun, paganism or Sabaeanism. Venus, Islam. Mercury, philosophy, materialism and skepticism. And the Moon, those who worship idols and images. What the theory of great conjunctions and Picatrix do have in common, however, is the fundamental association between Saturn and the Jews. Here, by virtue of their mutual antiquity, both the Hebrew and Chaldean tongues are kept under Saturn's jurisdiction.
And another thing that I learned from tests, that, oh man, it'll come back to me.
Astrology was no mere tabloid trifle association between Saturn and the Jews. Here, by virtue of their mutual antiquity, both the Hebrew and Chaldean tongues are kept under Saturn's jurisdiction. Astrology was no mere tabloid trifle or isolated discipline during this era. To use the words of Eugenio Garin, the Middle Ages were greatly concerned with, quote, astrology and religion, astrology and politics, astrology and propaganda, but also astrology and medicine, astrology and science, a philosophy of history, a conception of reality, a fatalistic naturalism, and an astral cult. Astrology was all these and more. End quote. What came to a head in the Italian Renaissance was the sheer volume of all these different astrological ideas, with all their internal contrasts and contradictions, building up to what Thomas Kuhn would describe as the crisis preceding the paradigm shift. And all this was happening precisely while the Studia Humanitatis began remapping these astral deities with imagery drawn up from the classics. One curious element of this fascination with astrology and culture was what Moshe Idel called the Saturnization of Judaism, and in turn, the Judaization of Saturn. By the end of this process, in the late 15th and 16th centuries, even European Jewish Kabbalists like Yohanan Alamano, working from earlier Spanish or Sephardic sources, were expressing the astromagical link between ancient history, the land of Israel, Moses, the temple, the Torah, prophetic inspiration.
The Jewish church was angry with Velikovsky for releasing information that was, well, what they would consider classified. They didn't want the Gentiles to know. And, you know, that's how far back it dates. It's very interesting.
The Sabbath and esoteric knowledge with Saturn. I will read you a fairly extensive quote by Yohanan Alamano right here. This is from an untitled treatise on the Sephirot of Binah. And the third sphere, that of Saturn, is a supreme and noble one, higher than all the other planets, which is the reason that the ancient sages said about it that it generated all the other planets. And they say that Saturn is the true judge and the planet of Moses, peace be with him. The angel of Saturn is Michael, the great minister, so called because of his great power in divine matters, and he is the ministering angel of Israel. And the astrologers who have described Saturn say that it endows man with profound thought, law, and the spiritual sciences, the Chokmot Ruhaniot, prophecy, Nevuah, sorcery, Kishuf, prognostication, and the Shemitot and Yovelot. The Jewish people and the Hebrew language and the temple are under its jurisdiction. Saturn's major conjunction is with Jupiter in the dominion of Pisces and occurs to assist the nation and the Torah and its prophets. This planet endows the people with perfection in sciences and divine matters, such as the Torah and its commandments, out of its sublimity because it is spiritual. It is concerned only with thought, understanding, and design, esoteric knowledge, and divine worship, and his Torah, and the Sabbath day is in its sway, because its nature causes material existence to cease, and all the operations that do not correspond to it are forbidden, because it corrupts and destroys all destructions. And lightning, that is fire, should not be done under its aegis, that is, during the Sabbath, because it is cold. And if they keep its spiritual rules and laws, it will impart a spiritual influx abundantly. But if they do not keep the way of God, it will spit forth everything that is bad. Prophecy will occur to fools and to babes in an insufficient manner, and to women and to melancholics, and to those possessed by an evil spirit, and maleficent demons that obliterate the limbs, and bad counsels and sorceries, and anxieties and erroneous beliefs. So Edel takes this passage to represent the Saturnization of Judaism as inspired by the writings of the Toledan rabbi Abraham ibn Ezra, whose dates are 1089 to 1164, but also to his circle of commentators. This he does on account of its numerous parallels with the passages that follow here, and it's quite possible that his description of the links between Saturn and Judaism were also shaped by an acquaintance with the Picatrix in one of its forms, whether directly or indirectly. So
what happened? Oh, I guess that was it. Cut it off. I'll have to provide a link to that video if you want to see it. We got one more to go, and then it's going to get close to saying goodnight. I hope you all have a good time. And I'll speak to you in a little bit. To me, this is for reflection after taking all that in. Just how beautiful and wonderful the universe is. It's awesome.
Saturn, the planet, was deemed responsible for the flood. It is equally plain, especially. Moreover, the Venetian pentagram can be found superimposed upon the disk of Shamash, figure 12. Moreover, the Venetian pentagram can be found superimposed upon the disk of Shamash. Moreover, the Venetian pentagram can be found superimposed upon the disk of Shamash, figure 12. The Sun and Venus in Mesoamerica.
This is the last one.
Worship of the ancient sun god and the planet Venus is as conspicuous in the New World as it is in the Old. Each of the so-called solar images can be found in prehistoric petroglyphs, as can the eight-pointed star and pentagram. In most cases, of course, New World petroglyphs occur in contexts otherwise devoid of writing, and thus it is difficult to be certain which celestial body is the subject of the glyph. Such is not the case in Mesoamerica, however, which reached a high stage of civilization under the Olmec and Maya. In addition to developing a sophisticated system of writing, the Maya were also skilled astronomers capable of calculating the period of Venus to within a fraction of its true value. Early symbols and petrographs of Mesoamerica consequently provide an invaluable key to unlocking the secrets of celestial imagery in prehistoric rock art. A prominent characteristic of Mesoamerican astronomy, indeed of Mesoamerican culture in general, was an obsession with the planet Venus. Like their counterparts in ancient Babylon, Mesoamerican skywatchers chronicled the movements of Venus with amazing diligence and accuracy, viewing it as an agent of great omen and danger. Of the Mexican preoccupation with Venus, a Spanish monk was led to report, so accurately did they keep the record of the days when it appeared and disappeared, that they never made a mistake. It would be difficult to cite an aspect of Mesoamerican culture devoid of the planet's influence. Temples were constructed and aligned with the purpose of gaining the optimum view of the planet. Various rituals, including human sacrifices and the practices of war, were timed to correspond to important aspects of the planet's orbit. Even the calendar was designed to take into account the planet's movements. Anywhere the sacred iconography associated with Venus abounds. The omnipresent influence of Venus upon Mesoamerican culture invites comparison with Old World cultures, particularly that of Babylon. And as we have documented elsewhere, the two cultures share much in common with respect to sacred traditions and iconography surrounding the planet Venus. Among the Maya and Aztecs, for example, Venus was represented as a star. This was in keeping with its name, Great Star, a common epithet of the planet amongst various peoples in Mesoamerica. Figure 13a depicts an Aztec symbol for Venus. This figure bears comparison with the four-pointed star which adorns the disk of Shamash. In figure 6, the resemblance is striking, down to and including the central point within the fourfold star. It is even possible that the volutes which distinguish the Aztec glyph correspond with the wavy lines which emanate from behind the star in the Babylonian symbol. The resemblance between the Aztec symbol and the Mesopotamian, needless to say, supports the conclusion that the four-pointed star originated in the objective appearance of the planet Venus. The same basic image is apparent in figure 13b, a version of the Lamet glyph, an acknowledged Maya glyph for Venus. Here, the star is set against a circular disk, not unlike that associated with Shamash. That's figure 13b and figure 13c, and then there was figure 6. It is equally common, however, to find Venus depicted as a five-pointed star. See figure 13c. Here, too, the Mesoamerican symbol finds a close counterpart
in the Babylonian cult of
Looks
Ishtar,
like the World War
Venus,
II
figure 12.
U.S.
Figure 12.
airplane marker.
The quincunx, as was the case in the ancient Near East, pictographs featured prominently in Mesoamerican systems of writing. Included among the earliest petroglyphs is one believed to be associated with the planet Venus. See figure 14. Commonly known as quincunx, from the appearance of 4 circles about a central orb. It has been said the quincunx is the most frequently occurring sign in the Mesoamerican symbolic language.
Sounds like an insult.
And like
You
the star in
quincunx.
Mesopotamian iconography, the quincunx appears ubiquitously amongst the sacred iconography surrounding the planet Venus. Given the Maya's renowned obsession with heavenly phenomena, it is not surprising that other celestial objects also came to be represented on their sacred stelae and imposing stone monuments. The sun, for example, was commonly signified by a glyph known as the kin. See figure 15. Of the kin glyph, Thompson opined that it was probably derived from some type of 4-petaled flower. It is not uncommon, however, to find the quincunx sign
always
superimposed
morphing.
upon the kin sign.
Constantly
See figure
fluid.
16. Of the meaning of this surprising superimposition of glyphs, Thompson offers nary a clue, only the following observation. The quincunx is frequently set on the regular 4-petaled kin glyph, apparently without altering its value in any way. The reader will recognize at once, of course, that this is the very same situation we encountered in ancient symbols from the Old World. Again, we ask, what could possibly be the significance of this bizarre convergence of iconography, whereby a sign of Venus is placed upon the sign of the sun? Archaeoastronomers, confronted with this evidence from ancient hieroglyphs, might well be tempted to suggest that early scribes were trying to illustrate some important celestial event, such as the inferior conjunction of Venus and the sun. The latter is an event recurring every 584 days or so, in which Venus passes directly between the Earth and the Sun. Unfortunate for the hypothetical thesis, however, is the fact that Venus is invisible during inferior conjunction, and thus this would appear to be a most unlikely explanation of the glyphs in question. Another possibility, of course, is to assume that modern scholars have erred in their identification of the glyphs for the Sun and Venus. This, too, is highly unlikely, at least with regard to the sign for Venus. What then can be the explanation for the glyphs in question? The position taken in this essay accepts the ancient signs at face value as faithful, albeit somewhat rudimentary attempts to depict a celestial phenomenon in which Venus appeared to be superimposed against the backdrop of a much larger sun-like orb. Those readers familiar with previous essays of Talbot and myself will recognize here a familiar theme. Summary. In the present essay, we have documented that glaring anomalies distinguish the earliest iconography associated with the various celestial bodies. Prehistoric petroglyphs from around the world consistently portray the ancient sun god in a fashion that bears little resemblance to the appearance of the current solar orb. Among the most common petroglyphs are those which show the solar disk equipped with a central dot, an 8-spoked body, a rosette, and a pillar-like appendage. The fact that the very same images appear amongst the earliest pictographs in Sumeria, Egypt, and Mesoamerica not only confirms the stubborn longevity of these sacred images, it offers some justification for the view that a continuity of beliefs, e.g. astral worship, likewise underlies the common images, thereby offering hope of discovering the original significance of the prehistoric petroglyphs upon analysis of their historical counterparts. In Mesopotamia, as we have seen, the most ancient symbol of Shamash, depicted as a star upon a circular disk, the star, however, originally signified the planet Venus, not only in Mesopotamia but also in Mesoamerica and Egypt. In light of the fact that the Babylonians and Maya are renowned for their astronomical prowess, particularly as it applied to the observation of Venus, we would venture forth the opinion that the stellar iconography surrounding this planet was representative in nature and thus reflected the objective appearance of Venus in prehistoric times. How then are we to explain the presence of the Venus star upon the disk of the Sun? At the very least, this juxtaposition of images suggests a hitherto unnoticed relationship between the planet Venus and the Sun, difficult to explain given the current relationship which pertains between these two bodies. More probably, these images allude to a lost solar system, one in which the planet Venus appeared to be superimposed upon a sun-like orb, the latter to be distinguished from the current solar orb. Support for this conclusion can be obtained upon further analysis of the prehistoric sun images. Certainly, there is a remarkable resemblance between the Venusian star in Figure 8a and the eight-spoked body adorning the sun disk in Figure 4. Indeed, it is the opinion of this author that the eight-spoked body in Figure 4 does in fact represent the planet Venus, and thus marks a prehistoric analog of the eight-pointed star in which adorns the symbol of Shamash in Figure 7. Nor is it difficult to recognize a certain affinity between the rosette in Figure 9 and the flower-like object adorning the solar disk in Figure 3. That the rosette was one of the oldest symbols of Inanna Venus is commonly acknowledged, as its intimate relationship to the eight-pointed star. As we have seen, the eight-pointed star is frequently depicted as little more than 8 arms or spokes emanating from a central hub, Figure 10, and some early examples of the star, such as that from Elam depicted in Figure 8b, render the resemblance to the Venusian rosette readily apparent. Indeed, the resemblance extends to the finest details of the respective images. Witness the dark dot located within the innermost core of the star, found not only in Figures 3 and 8b, but also within various examples of Figure 2 and 13. Having discussed the images represented by Figures 3 and 4, it remains to discuss Figure 2, the most common petroglyph of the sun, and one of the most prominent images in all of ancient art. Figure 5 will be dealt with at length in a subsequent essay. If we are to be consistent, the smaller orb is to be identified with the planet Venus. That the same body may at one time be represented as a star and elsewhere as an eye-like orb upon the face of the sun god need not be a contradiction. In ancient times, perhaps, the planet went through cyclical phases, not unlike our current moon, which alternately presents the appearance of a crescent and a circular disk. More probably, the different images associated with the planet Venus represent different stages in the evolutionary history of the planet, particularly as it related to the planet's interaction with the ancient sun god and other bodies in the solar system. It can be shown, in fact, that the planet Venus underwent various metamorphoses in appearance during its long-term association with the ancient sun god. During the course of the past decade, Talbot and myself have discussed several of the more clearly delineated phases in the history of Venus. Among the most prominent as we have documented in great detail, is the phase in which Venus was identified with the eye of the sun god. Thus, it is that Venus is identified with an eye, or with the eye of the ancient sun god. Throughout the ancient world, in ancient Egypt, to take the most familiar example of this motive, the eye of Ra, one of the most sacred objects in all of Egyptian religion, is identified with Venus, and the glyph for Ra, it may be remembered, is our figure 2. Conclusion. Together with the polychrome paintings of bison and mammoths on the cave walls at Altamira, ancient images of the sun and planets, Venus provide compelling evidence of lost worlds. The hypothesis that Venus moved upon a radically different orbit in very recent times, during the Neolithic age, perhaps, will no doubt be met with the same skepticism as which greeted the discovery of the Paleolithic cave paintings in the past century. Be that as it may, the testimony of ancient rock art is not to be explained away. Indeed, it is our opinion that the evolutionary history of the solar system can be reconstructed in great detail upon analysis of ancient iconography and mythology, like the ancient oracle at Delphi. The mysterious images engraved in stone call out to us with news of the ancient gods. But given the cynical nature of the modern world, who among us will listen? Ev Cochrane.
Yeah, he's got that right. Who really listens?
Carl Sagan, An Analysis of Worlds in Collision. And D. Goldsmith, Scientists Confront Velikovsky, New York, 1979. That's silly. That's just a way for them to make themselves feel better. 2. Velikovsky, Worlds in Collision, 1950. See a discussion with A. Wilcox, The Rock Art of Africa, Kent, 1984. Close parallels can be found in East Tawahig, The Megalithic Art of Western Europe, Oxford, 1981. On the age of these petroglyphs, Anati writes, the most ancient valley carvings dealing with sun worship belong to the end of the Stone Age, to the second half of the 3rd millennium BC. At that period, the sun is drawn as an isolated disk. Seldom it is accompanied by a person with hands upraised in an attitude of prayer. Yeah, he's got 74 references here, so it's quite a lot. I'll read a couple of them. The origin of Velikovsky's comet, Kronos, fall 1984. On the nature of cometary symbolism, Kronos, fall 1985. When Venus was a comet, 1987, Dave Talbot. Mother Goddess and Warrior Hero, Eon, 1988. The mythical history of the comet Venus, Eon, 1991. F. Cochrane. On Comets and Kings, Eon, 1989, The Birth of Athena. You can get that information right from here. Significantly, Venus was also compared to a flower in the New World. Thus, a Maya name for the planet was Lolzazcan.
Lolzazcan.
LOL, Zazcan. The luminous big flower of the sky. See W. Lamb Star lore in the Yucatec Maya dictionaries. Archaeoastronomy in pre-Columbian America. 70. That the dark dot usually depicts the planet Mars will be demonstrated in a subsequent essay. For the logic behind this statement, see Dave Talbot, Mother Goddess, and Warrior Hero. Eon, 1988. The Death of Hercules. Eon, 1991. I would like to read that. That sounds interesting. So I'm taking it Hercules must be Mars. Jeremias and Widener both held that phases of Venus must have been visible in order to account for references to the horns of Venus in ancient Babylonian astronomical texts. When Venus was a comet, Kronos, winter 1987. In Australia, for example, Venus was known as Mimanguna. Big Eye. Polynesian islanders referred to Venus as
Tamatanui,
Great Eye. The Maya likewise compared Venus to an eye, naming the planet Nahikik,
Great Eye. See Dave Talbot, The Mythical History of the Comet Venus. Eon, 1991. I'm going to try to find some of these. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Talbot and Cochrane. When was Venus a comet? Chronos, winter 1987. Mythology in Ancient Egypt. Mythologies of the Ancient World. New York, 1961.
Coming close to the end of the night. Thank you so much for tuning in.
An explosion of human imagination occurred, an outpouring of mythology and symbolism that defined cultures for thousands of years. Long after the celestial provocation itself was forgotten. In these early historical times, there are no records of the present planets, no diaries recording planetary motions or periods. Planets as we know them today did not exist. These were the gods, awe-inspiring, and at times capricious and terrifying. Early star worshippers speak of a great light of heaven, motionless in the sky, the Egyptian Atum or Atum Ra, the Sumerian On, the Babylonian Anu. And enigmatically, early astronomers knew the overarching figure as the planet Saturn, whose story will be a centerpiece of our third episode. In the beginning, the gathered powers were not seen as separate gods, but as the primeval unity of heaven, the perfect conjunction, or great conjunction of the Golden Age. A massive sphere hung in the sky, and in its center stood a radiant star surrounded by explosive streamers. Cultures the world over came to see this star in feminine terms as the mother goddess, the planet Venus. Remembered as the great star, the mother of all stars. This was the central eye, heart, and soul of the primeval sun, his animating life, power, and glory, and much more. The world. This was the terrible goddess, raging in the sky with wildly disordered hair, or multiple flailing arms, a celestial spectacle radiating a paralyzing light. When instability and displacement occurred, the streamers discharging from Venus grew chaotic, giving the planet a frightful countenance. The angry goddess was a comet, the mythic prototype of comets. Immanuel Velikovsky's great comet, the planet Venus. front of this central star was a smaller, darker, reddish sphere. This was the mythic warrior, the masculine heart of the heart, the child in the womb, the child on the lap, the pupil of the eye, the axle of the cosmic wheel, the most active figure of world mythology. Sky worshippers everywhere knew the identity of this warrior, the victor over dragons and chaos monsters. This global identity of Mars as the greatest of warriors shouts to us an unrecognized history. On the great sphere of heaven, a bright crescent appeared, with the orb or star of Venus between its horns. Things never seen in our sky were once revered around the world. The configuration evolved through numerous phases. The number of streamers changed repeatedly, as did their observed form. Every change in relative position produced dramatic change. The Australian physicist Wallace Thornhill flew to Portland for a 30-day visit. He convinced me that the forms I'd reconstructed were electrical. They were plasma discharge streamers stretching. Form will change with the intensity of the discharge. The whirling forms I'd reconstructed and the common symmetry, which I'd often laughed about, did indeed have a physical explanation.
The god responsible for the deluge is made clear by several authors already cited. That Saturn, the planet, was deemed responsible for the flood. It is equally plain, especially Velikovsky, 1978 and 1979. Velikovsky appears to have been the first to claim that Saturn became a nova, an idea that he found buried in Jewish rabbinical commentaries on the deluge.
You see, and they were angry with him for releasing that to the public. I play a couple of songs and say goodnight. I hate leaving, but I'm getting tired. I got one more immunotherapy on Tuesday. And man, every time I have one of those, I end up in the hospital. So this time, I hope it goes better. I do not want to go back into the hospital. That was just a bummer. But I got, I was sick. I got better. I had a lung infection. And, a lot of people that are in cancer treatment, they die of things like pneumonia, because your immune system is low. So I'm staying in the warmth. It's been colder than a bear's ass like that. I don't know where you're living, but up Michigan way, it was 7 degrees this morning. Crazy. Anyways, man, I would love to stay. I always love it when you guys come and show me some love. Check out the show. thank you for that. And everything's free here, so if you can, for a few bucks, man, you wouldn't know how much.
That will do it for this show. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment. Until next time, take care. And I'll see you on down the road. 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 That will do it for this show. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment. Until next time, take care. And I'll see you on down the road. 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 And
my days. The sunshine falls like the rain, and I'm trying to find myself. Just don't know where to begin. These tears dry my soul, leaves me standing here with this empty hole. And I said to myself, cry me some tears, let all these memories just disappear. Stop my days, my tears fall like the rain, and I'm trying to save myself. Just don't know where to begin. My fear drives my pain, leaves me standing here in the pouring rain. And I said to myself, cry me some tears, let my fears just disappear.
Alright, time for me to say goodnight. Much love. Be careful out there. And take care of yourself. And, I'll see you next week. And we'll have something else plotted out. A lot of crazy stuff going on these days. A lot of talk. And I'd love to get into it with you. I just might. Just start recording. Once a week or something. Just talk. A lot to talk about. Good night. I love you, man. I really do. Thank you so much for being a subscriber to the Greg J channel. We just have a tiny little niche. I'm 5 subscribers short from 67, for God's sake. And, I'm being suppressed for wrong things. They punish you for that. Some people get really popular, but they got a bigger platform. But it's okay, man. I'm happy with what I have. I have you, and that's what matters. I got the best people on YouTube. I'm not just saying that. I mean it. I'll see you next week, and at immunotherapy on Tuesday. Always cringe when I have to go through that. But we gotta do what we gotta do, right? So I'll see you Sunday. Love you. Bye-bye.